If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera. No strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you, or reach out to me, and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today, or reach out to me. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you. Coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut.
The change in July 7th of 2016? Was that when the shooting happened in Texas? I believe that was it. When the 5 police officers were killed in the line of duty. Happened a mile from my house. I was living in downtown Dallas at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I had to make it home, and there was like road closures, and I was like, we heard what was going on. And I had already made the political switch to, your cough's fine. Leave it on there.
No. That's a good marker.
No,
I want to do a clip on that.
Oh, I thought you were like, I got to get rid of my cough. Yeah, I was we don't pay attention to that. But
I don't give a shit about that.
So no, I was making my way home, and I had already been I would say my switch politically happened with my own small business in like 2011. I was a 2-time Obama voter, and then all of a sudden I was like, something's just not right.
All right, welcome back. Two Cops, One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and my special guest today is the one, the only Anthony Russo. I wanted to call you Andrew Russo.
You have no idea how many times people have known me for years call me Andy. I'm like, hi, Anthony, I'm right here. We've known each other for like 20 years. But
yeah, I don't know why. Andrew just seems like, is there a famous Andrew Russo?
No, there's my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend is Andrew. And then that you must have known.
Oh shit.
And then I'm just kidding. And then, well, it's true. And then Anthony Russo is the Marvel creators. Anthony and Joe Russo. So
okay.
I'll never be properly searchable on Google.
That's true. Oh shit, you need to. Well, that's probably why your podcast isn't named after you.
Right, I do that on the bottom.
Smart.
And I do, like, for my speaking, I'll say Anthony Michael Russo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, smart. All right, so sir, first off, welcome. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Let's kick this off right. I know you're a drinking man, because the last thing I saw you on, you guys were drinking. You were doing a shot of some sort.
We do the "Don't Get the Shot" seat on my podcast.
And what's the name of your podcast, sir?
It's called Blunt Force Discussion. Started out as Blunt Force Logic. I would do like a rant on my Be the Change. That is a hell of a pour.
Oh, bro, I don't play. Like, anybody that watches this show knows that I try to make the Death Star is basically what I do. Just enough.
Oh, I just noticed what that was.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Star Wars freak.
No, now, believe it or not, my fridge makes that naturally.
Really?
I didn't do that intentionally.
Really?
Yeah. That's just how that's how my fridge knows me.
Did you pay extra for it?
I did not.
Is the brand name The Force?
Yeah, I actually, it's the Death Star model.
This is going to be interesting, by the way. So I had my own podcast earlier today, and then I've been running around this morning trying to get stuff done. So I haven't eaten yet. So this is going to
be,
this is going to go straight down.
That's what I'm talking about. It's nice and warm.
Okay, what is it?
It's Blue Note, but it is their unfiltered.
So do they just hook you guys up or hook you up with like I just gave you multiple personalities. You identify as they?
It is they. I'm wearing a gray shirt and I'm in a black chair.
Thank you, Kamala.
But yeah, so I've been a buddy of mine turned me on to Blue Note.
Says he's 60%.
It does, sir.
So 120 proof.
Yeah, 121.2. If you want to be.
We're allowed to swear, right? Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck around.
Yeah,
that is a high.
I don't play, sir. I am a bourbon man. I'm actually, so I've had a couple local bourbons. See, I tell people a good bourbon makes you cough on the first one.
So does weed.
I'm not allowed to partake in that.
No,
sir.
you're not.
So Patriot Owned Business it's an online group that got real big. All started with Tim Labatsky. He got denied going into some stores that he normally goes in, refused to wear a mask type thing. But yet the employees were not wearing masks because he looked from outside and they're bullshitting, laughing, and like pissed him off because. Yeah. You know, okay, if that's the rules in your establishment. Yeah. But
stick with them.
Yeah.
Are you from the north?
I am from Michigan.
Okay. I went to college in Wisconsin.
You can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it in you. Labatsky sounds like, you know, we went over to Labatsky's house and we had a few brewskis, you know.
Here it comes.
He's such a kidder, that Labatsky.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and
oh, no wonder you have bottled water.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think it gets me more viewers. They're sympathetic. They're like, oh, this poor guy, he's just trying to make it.
He was the minority in Flint.
Yeah, he'll be dead and like by the time he's 50, but yeah. Where was I going? Oh yeah, Tim's POV thing. Yeah. So he goes home and he gets on social media, not a social media guy per se, but he just starts gathering small businesses that don't want to be dictated by the government what to do, and called it Patriot Owned Businesses, and just he's at like 20,000 members now.
Doesn't get any simpler than that, does it?
Pretty simple.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, Prather on the back.
Oh yeah, Prather's a big supporter of them, and so of course me being a veteran, and this is, you know, I LLC'd this, and I was like, hey man, I'll be a part of it. That'd be a good time. Yeah. So created that, and through that I started learning some bourbon makers. One called America. Yeah. Right. It's like a $20 bottle of bourbon, and it's like it's not what I would call the upper class version, but it's a good solid bourbon. Yeah. You know? Like TX. TX is a good solid bourbon.
TX is real good.
Yeah. So
have you tried the Randy Rogers one? The Bond Breaker? That's the one that I was trying to get to sponsor my we'll have to. So they gave me the bottle and they're like, we're going to talk about it. And then they're like, we're a little new brand, but I'm going to tell you.
This is by TX?
No, it's a separate, but it's a Texas based.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
No, TX only has TX, but honestly, like I typically like mixing my whiskey. I mean, the fact that we're sipping it is good, but if I'm out, I'm going to, you know, whatever. The Bond Breaker is actually really, really good. It's a little fruitier than this. Like this is, you know, 120 proof. So it's, it's blend. This is blend force, but it's not bad. Yeah. You're able to drink it on its own without it, you know, burning.
Oh so man. I call them bitch blankets. I don't bitch blanket my bourbon. So
it's got a good smell to it too.
Yeah. I put my finger in there before you got here. Just sweeten the pot.
Yeah. You don't even want to know what I put my finger in. So you know, and you know Jera too, right?
Jera, I had Jera on the show.
She's a whiskyer herself.
Oh yeah, whiskey and cigars. Yeah. She was cool. Jera don't fuck with Jera.
I wouldn't.
Nope. She's military. She's a gun-toting Texan. Through and through. Even though she's a Packers fan, but yeah, she's a badass. Prather knows her. We were talking, about, I can't remember why she even got brought up. I think we were talking about Second Amendment and females and stuff like that. And I was like, I know a badass. And he's like, oh, and I was like, yeah. And then we talked about your show.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And I think Jared's the one that put you and I in contact.
Yes.
Or at least you commented and yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. I was like, well, she's been on my show. I was like, so if she went on your show, then naturally, then we both have to collaborate and get together. So,
and she's funny too. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had to do mine from the military base. I was on my orders at the time. And so I'm in a hotel room and I brought all my stuff with me because I didn't want to miss any pots.
Right.
So, it's a lot of downtime. When I do my military time, I do it all at one flail stint. So it's like 24 days straight. So I'm at the base for about a month and my wife and kids all stay here. They come visit on the weekends, but you get done with work at 4 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon, whatever it is. And you're just sitting there. I'm like, okay, I can only work out for so long.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? So I was like, I'm going to pot it up. I was still trying to learn, man. But I don't have your skill set.
What skill set do I have?
You know the system. I don't know that
Oh
stuff.
no, I'm learning. That's why I'm a motivational speaker. Is I make it seem like I know what I'm doing. I've done enough research to know what direction to head.
Yeah. I'm trying like this whole. I care. I want to do that, but until I can at least get my product where I want it, because I don't even have my product where I want it at yet.
Yeah. And
then it's like, well, don't forget, you got to learn the hashtags and the algorithms, and I'm like. I don't have time.
You know what I forgot to tell you earlier? Also look up something called vidIQ.
I have that. Okay. Just got it.
And
I just got it. Like,
and it's
the free version. I don't even have the.
Worst case, I have the $9.99 a month version or something, just the cheap one. But yeah, it's. I think. I feel like it helps.
Yeah, yeah. They make you think it's helping.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm one of those ones like. I am jealous of people that are really good salesmen because that's not me. Like I'm a relationship salesman. Like if it happens, it happens. But then I watch these closers. To me, because I am like if something that smells good, I think I'll buy that. Like whatever the cut of your jib is just right. I'm gonna go ahead and I want to support you.
Yeah.
I wish more people were like that too.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. I don't want to put this particular company on blast, okay? Because overall, I think they're helping. But I tried to get them involved to be on the show, and I'm like, I'll promote the hell out of you guys. They don't need it. They're way bigger than me, but they're cops, or they were, So I try to reach out to them, get them on. Like, if I can't get you on, who can? We're brothers in blue. We do the job. All this stuff. Basically, was told that no, because it's not their thing. Like they need to be in control of doing it rather than me. I'm like, I just had an officer on yesterday, a sergeant in a homicide unit that he does his own mentoring for young men. It's Next Metropolitan is what it's called. I'm pointing at that shirt because the shirt he brought me. Next Metropolitan. And basically what he does, he's still a working cop, but he, on his own time in this nonprofit, he mentors future young men into young men, basically like 14 all the way up to 21 years old.
Nice.
That are in what would be considered high risk areas and stuff like that. So it's a really cool program.
Flint.
Yeah. Well, this one's more local.
I get it.
But and I made it. I got out of there. Flint is like the Matrix, y'all. You don't know you're in it until you get the fuck out of it.
Like, wow, it's not like that everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, there's not constant construction and gunfire. So didn't realize that. Although there is constant construction on 35. So
yeah, Texas.
Yeah, but so he's not taken away from me. I'm not taken away from him. I've had the Knock and Talk. I'll mention their podcast while I'm on here. The Knock and Talk. I've had the Muster Room podcast. Those are New York guys, New York cops that have their podcast. It's all police based.
Yeah.
Because the thing is even if they had the same exact setup and idea that I have, they don't. But there's similarities, but they don't. Even if it was the exact same, different perspectives and different content. It's going to always be that.
It's always different. Every day is different content.
And so if I got people that are kind of like, yeah, and I really like his layout of his show, but I don't care for his face or his voice, whatever it is. And they don't like me, but they like the Muster Room podcast.
Yeah.
My job's, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to bridge a gap here. So go to his podcast. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine. As long as you're learning and we're communicating, because that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah. They're the mustard and you're just trying to catch up.
Oh, I see what you did there. It's a muster, not mustard.
Oh, my bad.
Muster, like mustard, old military term. It's my northern accent coming
there
through.
It is,
eh?
coming right through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the podcast world is really interesting, and I kind of look at it like sports, or not sports, like music. So you've got country music and you've got hip hop, of course, right? Country music, they support each other. Like, they build each other up. Hip hop is a pay to play game, and that's why there's so much drug money in it. And I've worked in both industries just enough where I'm like, oh, it's so much better to work in country. Podcasts, I've noticed, and taking away your one in your instance, you have podcasters for the most part have one excuse of why they can't do something, and it's legit. They're busy. Like, sometimes you get super busy, but there's something whenever the line is dropped that it's gonna have a conflict with our own information or our own show. It's like, piss off. I mean, look at Chad Prather's a perfect example. Like, he supports anybody that's decent to him. He's a great dude, and he has a platform that is head and shoulders above most people's. So yeah, I relate most podcasters to kind of the country music area, or everybody does want to build each other up because it's all content. We're content creators, so why not go on somebody else's show? Then I don't have to edit it.
Yeah, I know. If you, man, and I'm sorry if this is boring some of my audience, but you know what? It's my podcast and I say what I want. So, and I don't get other podcasters on here a whole lot, so I want to talk about podcasting for a second.
We could talk about real shit too.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. There's plenty of time. What are you in a hurry for? If you're like me with podcasting, I listen to one episode of like Rogan for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I do. I chomp it. Yeah, I chomp away at it.
Yeah, I just pick at it like the Zuckerberg one.
Oh God,
it's probably taking me, 6-7 days to get through that robot, but I wanted to hear what he had to say.
God, it took a while to get to anything interesting in that, because that first little bit with all the AI stuff, and I'm a nerd a little bit, but that was like next level.
See, I was into it. I like that shit.
Like, oh man, this is a lot. This is heavy. But I talk about Zuckerberg. I feel like Zuckerberg is and maybe it's like the devil is able to get their grasp on you. I feel like he's almost coming around, because I think he's almost seeing how the bullshit that he's been fed. Like, I feel like about a year ago, there's a couple things where he was like, I'm doing what they're telling me to do, and they're still not happy. Like, YouTube, Google, they can fuck off.
Yeah.
Facebook is the only one that and I'm screwed by Facebook. Like, I have no reach. They tell me I have no reach. They've told me what I've done wrong, and I think it's bullshit, but at least it's still up.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm more on the Facebook side and Instagram side than I am on, even though they've demonetized everything. But you know what I mean? I feel like at least they won't ban you from the world.
Yeah. I kind of feel for him after listening to the episode. I'm like, all right, he seems like he's being genuine. I don't see him socially able to fool me as far as like faking it. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's just like, he's telling you what I think he's being truthful. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I read people for a living. So that's just him telling them like, oh, it's the algorithms. Like, sometimes they just do shit on their own. And he's like, I'm like, okay, I get that. I don't think you're sitting there sitting back and like, yeah, like, fuck, 2 cops, 1 donut. Like, I don't think he's sitting back doing that. I do think he grew too big, too fast, and he can't keep up with when the algorithms fuck up. Yeah. Algorithms fuck up.
Yeah.
When he's messing up on those, and then it's the people that are looking at your appeals. Yeah. Those are the ones that I really don't trust.
Yeah, they're the assholes.
Yeah. How you're not vetting these people? You're trying to catch up, man. You're so far behind.
Yeah.
Because I got banned for like 30 days because somebody asked me, we were talking about Uvalde, and they're like, as a cop, what would you do? What can we do for this? And what is a 7.62 capable of? Somebody's wanting to know what that round was capable
According
of.
to who? You were President Biden.
Right. So I'm like, I was like, well, the way that a 7.62 is going to work is it's going to rip through those doors. It doesn't matter if they have steel on them or not. They're just going to cut through them. And that's basically what I did, is I explained the capability of what that round will do. It got me banned. I was like, all right, well, let me appeal it, because I don't say controversial things. I don't.
Yeah,
That's just not my style. I don't do that. So I get on there and I appeal it. I'm like, I see. I think I hit some keywords in the algorithm. I said, a 7.62 round and cuts through, and I get it. I was like, but just check the context out. I was like, that wasn't doing anything. And finally, after like almost the time that I was banned anyway, goes through, and they're like, nope, we don't agree with your appeal.
You said it was at Facebook, or was that?
That was Facebook. Yeah.
That was Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't like my page got taken down. I just couldn't comment on my own page.
See, I can't. So my Truth Will Set You Free page has 34-ish thousand followers, and right now I'm, because of what they've said, starting all the way back in, let's see, November and December, it was like one baby strike and a baby strike, and they were strikes for sharing quotes from the FDA. and then one other one was me saying Omicron wasn't that bad, so calm down, and that was it. And ever since then, I've been fighting. So yeah, I have my beef, probably, I mean, from a financial standpoint, more with Facebook, because I was up to like $1,500 or $1,600 a month on ad revenue, which is great for just going live once in a while. Holy like that's shit. A dream at this point. I get zero. I'm negative. Yeah. But I was doing good. I was building my own audience, and then things were going well. I'd go live, and I knew that if I went live in the middle of the day and I had a halfway decent video, I'd make $100 off of it. That's cool.
Yeah, it's
really awesome. Damn. And then it just, because of those two things, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
See, I have no idea how to do that. How to even get ad revenue.
Well, Facebook. I don't even know what the threshold. Again, I told you I got lucky because of Cash, and that's how we got the growth. And then I did one video. I'll never forget. Cash got me up to about 20,000. He went away to January 6th jail. We could talk about that if you want. But he went away, and everything was constant. And then I did this one video. I don't even remember what it was about. I was in my car. I was like, oh wow, there's like 70 people watching me. Crazy. Next day, there was over 100,000 views on it. I was like, what the hell happened?
Holy
and then from that
shit.
point, we went up 10,000 at that point, just on my own stuff. Every time I'm creating a video, I'm like, people are getting views, people are getting shares. I'm like, doing good on the algorithm. And for some odd reason, Facebook was pushing it. I was spending about $50 a week on like boosting here and there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I pay to play a little bit, and they're making it back. And then, oh, you did good. Because now I'd like dedicated more of my life, because I'm like, this is going someplace. And then they drop the axe on you.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, let's get into the structure of the show here.
Yeah.
So first off, let people know who you are, where you're from, how you grew up. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's get that background.
Yeah. So Anthony or Andrew, depending on what you want to call me. Yeah. You are so far from the only one, trust me. Anthony Russo. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. My dad had multiple sclerosis and was also a compulsive gambler, which led into my speaking later in life. So I grew up in Vegas. I was born in Vegas, lived there till I was 7. My mom, I was kind of a sick kid. I had hypoglycemia, had a grand mal seizure, almost died at 18 months. Then moved to St. Louis because my mom, the person that kind of saved me or made me get better where I didn't have to be on all the pharmaceuticals, was a chiropractor. So my mom went to chiropractic school in St. Louis, grew up in St. Louis, got into art and design. That was what I played all the sports. I was the only kid in my high school to letter in 2 major sports, football and baseball, and also be in the advanced placement art program. Actually, I think there was one other, Daniel Pernikoff. Went to college on an art scholarship, funny enough, and went to school in Milwaukee, hence the Wisconsin, and then ended up getting into promotions and being a professional speaker and like an MC and all that stuff. That's an interesting story how I got into it. Real quick, I graduated from college. I was a little chubby.
Okay.
I put on a little bit of
little
weight.
Freshman 15?
Yeah. Well, I'm senior 30 probably at that point. Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was a little heavier, and you're good. I managed to are you yelling at the kids?
Yes.
Yeah. So I managed to, what did I do? Let's see. I was third. Oh yeah. So I graduated from college. Little heavy. There was a girl that I knew from college when I was a bouncer, and she's like, you're still cute, but you've put on some weight.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, So I always believed, like, even my senior thesis was on chain of events, and I made the decision. I was like, some people there can go fuck off, and I decided I was like, all right, I'm gonna start running. So I ended up running. I've run a bunch of marathons. I still always go up and down my weight, but ran a bunch of marathons, which therefore got me into doing promotions. Therefore got me working for Budweiser as a bud boy. Right out of a couple years out of college, which was awesome.
I've seen Coors girls. So were you dressed the same way?
I was just the short jean shorts, and the rest was
Jesus Christ, that's a visual.
Oh, it is. I'm a hairy individual too. So, anyways, I went through that, and then one day I ended up taking a gig that my buddy couldn't do, and I made friends. I was also an investor in a sex toy company at the time. And I was working for Budweiser, and I ended up doing this thing called the Spirit of Champions Tour for the NCAA. And I meet these group of guys that ended up being, people I worked with for years. And I was able to give their girlfriends vibrators and them get free beer at the bars. So they're like, do you want to go on the road with us, bro? And that's how it started. And then I just became, what we would do is a set up and breakdown at all the NCAA championships for Coca-Cola. And then I became our lead MC and all that stuff.
No shit.
Yeah, and then that's how I kept working for the NCAA for years.
Dang.
Yeah.
So are you like God, what's his name? I knew I'd draw a blank as I was trying to think of him. From the Cubs back in the day.
Harry Carey.
Harry Carey. Is that
Hi, Cubs. Hey, what's going on, guys? No, I'm the one that Harry Carey would kick it down to on the field. That's like the Chachi guy. Like, I'm here with Steve.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Nice. You're out there with the racers that try to race against the mascots and shit.
I've done that I've been the MC for that many times. It's different stadiums.
That's one of my favorite things because I watch. I'm a runner too, so I see. The whatever the guy's name is that dresses in
Atlanta.
Yes, the unisuit or whatever, and he gives them a huge lead, and then he just fucking smokes them. And I'm like, he's letting you. If you don't run, and most of these people that pick, they obviously don't run. You just conserve the energy until that final stretch, and then he just kicks it in.
What people need to do, there's a cheat code to that. They need to, because I think he's gotten really good at gauging people's speed and knowing where to start.
Right.
I think people need to sandbag.
Yeah,
they need
absolutely.
but they can't fake it. They need to make it look like they're just not that fast, then because then he'll give too much of a window.
Feels like you're running at an incredible pace, Perry.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're only 100 miles in. You're already annoying me. Sorry. Yeah, I can quote movies all day.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. My girlfriend has never watched television, apparently, so it's awkward.
Well, don't let her watch Yellowstone. She may not like the way she's being appealed on there.
Oh, no, she knows the song Barrel Racer Land, so she doesn't like Yellowstone because, well, actually, she just doesn't think it's overly realistic. That's the problem.
That's okay.
I know.
She doesn't have to.
Life isn't realistic.
I don't watch TV necessarily because of ultra realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
If I want to do that, I'll watch the news. Never mind. That doesn't count
I just do my job and I get to see the real true crime. That seems to be the big thing. People, oh my God. This is another thing that irritates me with the podcast. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should cut your time down to this. You should do that. I'm like, motherfucker, you do a podcast. And I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to I do true crime at work. I'm trying to fix the true crime
people
problems.
are telling you, like, those crime podcasts are huge. You should should try that. How about you let me do my thing?
Yeah. There's a ton of true crime podcasts. I promise you. You can get all you want. Serial. That's a great one. Go watch, listen to Serial.
That's a good one.
I love Serial. It's very good.
Yeah. I like the idea of a long format podcast. I like the 3 hour. Like, when you said, like, plan for 3 hours, I was like, no, when do you want? Because honestly, nobody actually does it besides, like, Joe Rogan. And if I wasn't paying a fortune for my studio, I would love to do. I'd rather do longer ones. But the key to growth is, again, like we talked about, retention. So you got
I do.
So just chop it up.
Yeah.
No, keep it the damn 3 hours. Like, look what Rogan does. Yeah. He does the 3 hours, but his viral clips are not a minute like most people. They're still 20 minutes because he's so engaging. If your content's good, people will watch 10, 15, 20 minute stuff.
Absolutely.
And then your followers will they'll chop away the whole 3 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm getting better. I'm learning. And then when I get on your podcast, and then I can come see how you do things. And then we'll have fun doing that as well.
Yeah, that one's like, the guy's like right there. It's good.
Oh, you have a guy?
Yeah, that's part of the fee. That's why it's,
So you got like a Jamie? Hey, Jamie, pull this up.
Yeah. So, well, yes, if I got to prep it real easy, but he's on the cameras, like doing it as we go. Like he knows when he's good, Joe.
So he doesn't have to do what I do, where we do this. Then as soon as you leave, I scramble, pull all the footage,
Right.
upload, and then I'm like,
yeah, looking like what angle, like when he's talking, when you're both talking. Yeah.
I got an easy method though.
What's that?
So the audio clip, right?
Yeah.
When your mic's kicked in, I see your audio feed. When my mic's kicked in, I see my audio feed. So I scrub. Just cut the angles.
Smart.
So, like right before. Hey, folks, Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut. Want something better than Ring, Arlo, Brink, or any of the other quick launch home security systems? I've been having trouble with my Ring products. They don't read license plates on moving vehicles. The link doesn't connect fast enough to my phone, and I'm tired of getting notifications only to see like a glimpse of something that set it off. I was reached by a veteran-owned business called Agent Security. The owner, the staff, all veterans or former cops. They're kind of like the Chick-fil-A of customer service when it comes to security. They have a system that does everything companies like Ring do and more. They have pivoting cameras that track day or night. They can also read license plates and catch high-definition details that will lead police more effectively to catching the offender. Their mission is providing the best home security systems to their customers. All you have to do is start the conversation to protect our most valuable assets, our families. They listen to your needs and come up with perfect customized security solutions to protect what matters to you most. You can contact them by phone at 713-962-3558 or email info@agentsecurity.com or visit their website, agentsecurity.com. That's AGENTSECURITY.com. They serve the greater Houston area, North Texas, and more. Be sure to tell them that Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut sent you. I'm about to talk as you're finishing a sentence or whatever. I do wide angle, and then I let it go for a little bit, and then I cut it over to me when I'm talking.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be an interesting clip for you to cut right there because it's going to be like right before you finish. And then it sounds like, see, right before you're finishing, I'm scrubbing. Okay. It's awkward.
I'm just going to make sure there's no video on that. It's only audio. So you got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart.
But all right, sir. So you started in Vegas, and I'm very happy about that. My dad is actually visiting my aunt right now in Vegas.
Yeah.
I have family out there. And my favorite absolute whiskey, Smoke Wagon, is from Vegas. It's
really?
that bottle that's closest to you. This is the cool bottle. Tell me that doesn't look like old-timey.
It does.
Yeah.
That looks like you're about to lose money at a blackjack table.
Yeah, that looks like Clint Eastwood may come around the corner and
I like
tell you to make his day.
Is that how the professional, the way they write the 57.58%? Do they do that on all? Oh, they do. No, they do.
Oh, do they?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's cool. So that's because it's unfiltered. They're actually writing, they're testing it before they sell it.
Hell yeah.
So that barrel was 57.58%, and that barrel was 57.04%. That's badass. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I've never seen a whiskey do that.
Yeah, I love them. It's my fave.
Nice. Now, I might have to do a sip of that before we're done.
Now, if I could get sponsored by Smoke Wagon, I would probably not have a podcast anymore.
Why is that?
It's my favorite.
Well, how are they? Oh, because you'd be too drunk.
I
was going to say, if you're finally paying for it, that's when you really, you kick the tires, light the fires, turn and burn.
Right. But anyway, so you grew up in Vegas, switch over to St. Louis. How was that?
I didn't love, I don't go back there much. I'm a huge Cardinal fan, and that's about where my love with St. Louis ends.
Okay.
I did not like high school. I went to a high school called Parkway Central. It was, and if anybody that listens is from St. Louis, they know. Everybody says their high school. That's how you're from St. Louis? What high school did you go to? It was a very competitive school. It had desegregation, but it was very competitive in terms of, like, there was 24 national merit scholars. So I had a 3.7 GPA, and I was not even in the top third of my school, of my graduating class. So very competitive and also very cliquey. I'm half Jewish, half Italian. The school had a very high Jewish population. Everybody had money. I did not. I was on free lunch until I was in 8th grade, and then even after that, it was just whatever. I had the worst car in the parking lot, and it was a 1983 powder blue Grand Marquis, and everybody else, like the second worst was like a Dodge Intrepid. So it was cliquey, and I didn't love it. And then I played sports there, didn't love my high school baseball coach, ended up playing with a nearby high school for summer ball. And I St. Louis is just a second-rate town, in my opinion, and it's just kind of garbage politically too.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
How was so I'm trying to angle this towards the policing as well. How was it with the police where you were at?
Interesting. So my mom actually was friends with some of the, I can't remember their names, but higher up police officers in St. Louis. So she had a great relationship with them. And it's interesting. I was raised, we were both a very Democrat family, especially at the time. And it's interesting to think the difference in relationship between police officers then on like the Democrat side to now. I mean, taking away Biden's speech, obviously thinking that they're the party of police, but, I just had everybody there seemed all the police that I always met were always very helpful. Like it was a town that the crime wasn't blamed on police officers is the best way that I can describe it. The crime was like, oh, there's a bad part of town you go to, and there's a part you don't go to.
Yeah.
And then as I got a little bit older and I would come back and visit friends, that was the weird thing about that town is I guess it was still before the BLM movements. There would be a neighborhood that we'd party in one summer, that was the place to go. And then the next summer, it was like, that was the block where people were getting killed and you avoid that. You'd go to like Soulard. Oh, can't go to Soulard this year. Got to go someplace else. And I think that has to do a little bit with the policing there, just because it was like pick or choose the neighborhood. So I would say, looking back, maybe they were understaffed at best, but the police officers were much better there than Milwaukee.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So the cool part that what in our field and what I like to, I guess I'd like to kind of explore right now is, the power that we have look at the power the media has over perception of policing today. Like police used to be kind of a heroic, looked at job, even if it was starting to degrade, after NWA and some of them, rightfully pointed out some corruption in policing.
Absolutely.
That's, I hate when cops get mad. Why are you saying that shit? Like, cause it happened. Like, you got to take the good with the bad, own the bad. And so there was some bad stuff going on and that got brought to light, but then 9/11 happens and then firefighters, cops, ambulance people, everybody's, just revered. Everybody loves them. Yeah. And it didn't seem to take that long, maybe 15, 20 years, but it's a complete,
I think it was less than that. It was 10.
Yeah, complete
10.
opposite. And I hold almost wholeheartedly the media to blame for that. And now you got guys like us that have a podcast and we're able to get our message out. Maybe not as such a large stream crowd, but it grows. And if you get guys like Rogan, I mean, shit, if he can do that, I mean, he's getting more than any syndicated TV place could ever imagine.
Right.
And we're able to control a narrative that normally would go unheard.
Right.
And I think that holds a lot of power. I'm very careful with it personally. Like, I definitely try to make sure I don't get too heavy handed on one side.
Right.
Because it isn't fair, because each side has a voice. I think having Chad, I have gotten real heavy on the right side.
Right.
But I told you that last guest I had, Derek Hamilton, who's, claims to be very democratic, but he's got some very conservative beliefs after what he went through.
Yeah.
So talking to him, that kind of leveled the playing field. And then I have another guest coming. She's a Democratic candidate for a district attorney position.
Interesting.
And I'm very curious to ask her, why does your political affiliation have anything to do with being a prosecutor or a district attorney? I don't think that should matter. Personally.
Some cities or some municipalities, there's positions that doesn't matter. Yeah. And you don't even have to put it. Like some mayors, you don't even have to put it. Like
true. Yeah. But when it comes to district attorney, it's just like being a judge. Why does your political affiliation have any bearing over the law? Yeah. I don't get that.
Is there a chance that she, and I'm sure you'll find out, well, she may not be able to say, I know some people that have run for office against an incumbent and had to say they were the other political
party. It's possible. Especially because it's local. So that's very possible. Yeah. I'm ignorant on the cause. I don't know. So that's why I want to talk to her about that and get her, it helps level the playing field. Because if you get this is one thing that pisses me off about cops. You go to their Facebook pages or whatever, and it is like you're just in an echo chamber. It's all the same people. And got a lot of people from Flint.
Right.
They do not think like people down here.
Yeah.
And why do you got this fucking guy on your Facebook page? Like, he's an idiot. Da, da, da. I'm like, grew up with him.
Yeah.
He's got a good heart.
Yeah.
You just don't agree with the topic. Like,
Right.
that's okay. We can disagree and still be friends. Like, we're getting to a point now on social media that it becomes so polarizing. Like, as soon as you disagree with one point, now we can't be friends. No.
I feel like, and I agree with you, but I feel like the left started that, and I think the right being that way, like the people looking at some of the like, oh, how can that idiot say that?
Yeah.
I think is a byproduct of the last 3 to 5 years.
Oh, it's
and
yeah, it's
because I always use this reference. I had a girl that I was like on a date with back in 2005, and we went out, and I remember she had a George Bush bumper sticker, who even to this day, even though I'm Republican, I still think the Bush family is garbage personally.
yeah.
More of an establishment issue, but I remember looking at her bumper sticker and hating her for it. And that's such a Democrat thing to do this day and age. Like the Republicans, they hate Democrats in office. They give the opportunity to befriend. Like we're patient. We've been patient. I don't know if that's, as you said, it's kind of changing now, but it's like, dude, I don't care what your politics are, man. It's all good. Like you hate me, then it switches.
Yeah.
But like, I think the Republicans give a little grace. They hate the people in charge, whereas the Democrats will hate the people in charge and think hateful thoughts of you. I was guilty of it. I feel like that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I don't know who started it, but I do know it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like politics being brought into how you make or break a friendship. Like mine is content of character. So it was just the way Martin Luther King had that shit right back in the day. You know, it's the content of someone's character. But people will say that, and then the next thing you know, you'll agree on 99% of things, and that 1%, they're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Like over that one thing? I've had family members. We were just talking about that. I've had family members drop me because I took a stance on something that was very conservative in their opinion. And we're like, you know, I can't believe you. I've known you your whole life.
Yeah.
And then that was it. They're right.
That's the other problem with, from a political level, that's the issue with Republicans is we're very tribal as well. So the Democrats hate once they hear something, and I'm blanketing people, but the Democrat will hear something conservative that their friend has, and they'll kind of defriend them. The Republicans, for some odd reason, are like, oh, you feel this, you're pro-choice, don't even vote on my side. It's like, okay, bro, let's the bigger picture here is we're not going to agree on everything. You're never going to find a candidate that's perfect. And I think the Republicans are guilty of cannibalizing their own. And that's the problem, because people are going to all have different beliefs and different reasons.
Yeah. I don't care if it's left or right, but one of the great examples that I've seen recently is Tulsi Gabbard spoke at, what's it called? CPAC or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It was all Republicans.
Yeah.
And they let her come speak. And she was I listened to the whole thing because I was like, this is going to be interesting. You know, this doesn't happen anymore. Like she come in and spoke very honestly, and I thought very objectively, and was able to hit in such a way that she wasn't trying to kiss anybody's ass on the left or kiss anybody's ass on the right. And I was like, that's what it's about. She got up there and basically said, we can disagree, but still get things done. And I was like, that is an awesome message in a time where you said, like you said, everybody is like just trying to make the other side look bad. Right. And I'm like, how are you going to get anything accomplished?
I've been a fan of hers for a while, and I think she's probably going to switch parties. We'll see. But I just find it funny when, again, there's a lot of the conservative side that's like, yeah, I told you he's coming around. And then she says one thing that's still more of a Democrat or liberal ideal. And they're like, see, I knew she's controlled opposition. I'm like, no, she maybe, but she could just be a person with opinions of her own. Yeah. You know, I might blow your mind on this one. Have you so you've heard of Uncle Tom 1, right? Nope. The movie? No. Okay, so the actual creator is Dallas based. I just went to the premiere. Chad was there too. Uncle Tom 2, and it's literally just like, it's like a counter movie to 1619, essentially saying the power that Black people have to really take control of their lives. Like it's a lot better than we think. You know, they use opportunities and stuff like that. Like Larry Elder is the one that created it, one of the creators. The second one is a lot more aggressive, and you cited Martin Luther King. Yeah. And that's the go-to. We all got to do that. Like Martin Luther King is the gold standard of civil rights and positivity. That movie will start to change your mind on some stuff.
I get that he had character issues
past that.
But I'm just saying the
I know.
idea behind saying that, it could have been anybody that said it.
It was a great
idea.
That
message is perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
Judge people based on the content of their
character. Yeah. There's some glowing lines that I think now you start, there's some stuff that somebody made a comment on one of my, like the news shows like 4 months ago. And they're like, oh, I'm sure you love Martin Luther King. Just do some more research. I'm like, what are you talking? It's Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So it turns out he was actually, there's a lot of his background that's trained in communism and Marxism. So some interesting stuff. Yeah. And we see like 5 of his greatest speeches. And there's a lot of stuff that were questionable. The movie, it's all black creators, black people, black, Tatum and everything. And it literally is the beginning of destroying the whole concept behind the civil rights movement.
Really?
It's fascinating.
That's crazy.
And I'm not saying it's 100% correct. I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
But they provide enough questions to go, what was the motive in the 20s behind the NAACP? What was the motive during the civil rights movement of the 60s?
Yeah. Can you angle that up just a little bit? Yeah. I keep getting weird feedback in my headphones at you. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. That's
okay.
Better. Yeah, it was weird.
I waned to angle it. I was trying to do a ricochet.
A ricochet, yeah.
Yeah, you never want to go. Psst. You want to go. Psst.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Jeez. I would tell you how I used to tell some guys how to. I'm like, get it closer.
You're right.
No, here, get it closer.
Pretend like you're trying to get a husband. All right.
So you said you wanted to try that.
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. We're going for round number 2, folks.
I make sure I clear this one out because I do want to try it. I'm fascinated by the fact that they test their barrels. I kind of want to get to know them. I had a friend, my childhood girlfriend, when I was 5 years old. Her name's Ashley. She was a lifelong bartender, which now has really severe political beliefs.
Oh, really?
Thinks that I'm the devil, of course.
Oh, well.
But
that's why she's your ex.
Well, 5 years old. I don't know if we can consider that an ex, but yeah. Did you add another ball?
I did add another ball.
I was going to say, can I have...
I always like to freshen the whole thing up.
Yeah. Oh, look. I hate when the balls stick together. There you go.
You had ice nuts for a second.
Yeah. Hey, when that happens. I'm all wheels, no cannon. My girlfriend always makes sure I know that. You have to think about that one for a second.
No, I just was I was thinking of the ice balls again because it looked.
You pour heavy.
I don't know. I'm a man.
I'm a man. Yeah.
A man? Is that the right term these days?
You served and you're also, police officer. I'm an art school student. So.
I gotcha. I forgot to bring cosmopolitans. Yeah. My bad.
A little apple teeny there.
I fucking love bourbon. I love scotch.
Scotch. Get in my belly. That's actually, okay, I like this one even better. I like that better.
Yeah. Now, what will blow your mind even more is it's a rye.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I had a guest on here, and he goes, "Oh, that's pretty good for a rye." And I was like, "It's a rye?" I didn't read it. I just tasted it.
Oh, no, that's good.
Yeah. So, give you some insight. That bottle that I showed you earlier, I had been trying for 3 years. I had never had Smoke Wagon. I've been told about it. It's like one of those bourbon collectors. Try to get this bottle. It's amazing. I finally get one. And when it rains, it pours types things. I go to the store and like, we also have this one and we have this one. So I buy like 3 bottles all at once. Drop like $200. My wife's
Let's say, how much are they?
Generally around $60.
Okay.
The unfiltered, uncut one, that's a little higher because that's like their badass one.
Yeah.
And
you pay less for circumcised.
Yeah. So it was really, I took a risk because I went from never having it, and I've been burned before. Blanton's, like. It's super popular.
I've seen. I know what the bottle looks like. I don't think I've ever
the
had
little
it.
horse on the top.
Yeah,
like that was a popular bourbon already, and then stupid John Wick comes out, and that's what he was drinking on there, and it just makes it impossible to find. But I remember trying Blanton's, and I was like, it's okay. Yeah. Like it wasn't. So I was worried. I spent, bought 3 bottles of something that I've been chasing, and I was worried it's going to be bad.
No, it was good.
Turns out it's my favorite.
I want to know. I really do want to know the backstory on how they do the percentages. I'm assuming they test per barrel.
Probably just some drunk guy in the back. Yeah, it's like 59,000. Yeah.
58. Yep, that one's 58.07.
Wait, John, your left shoe's still on. Oh, my bad.
My bad.
Take that off.
Happy Gilmore reference.
Yeah. Good man. I like it. I'm impressed with the skills. All right, sir. So let's get into your podcast and why you created it. What's its goal? What are you trying to do? Because podcasts are created to reach the community, much like police, much like everything else. And like I was talking about, branching our media presence. It's so weird to call myself media because I hate the media. And I don't think they're ever out to do anything good. I think they're out for money.
Did you see my the picture at CPAC that I had that posted?
No.
So I have one of my clothing brand is Awake Not Woke, but I had the
you got it. That's your clothing brand.
That's my style. And I got the trademark on it too. I need to start making some damn money with it. Is what I need to do.
Okay.
But I had the defund the media hoodie on, and I had I applied for it, so I got.
So you're a media spot.
So I was a media spot. So I'm in front of the pit where all of the media is like half of them wearing masks, and I'm in front wearing the defund the media.
That's hilarious.
Badass. Yeah,
that is hilarious. Great. That's funny.
I know I'm taking a little turn. We'll go back to it, but I watched a guy next to me. He was with Reuters. New York Times. He was with New York Times. I'm sorry, the Reuters people were super nice, actually. He was with New York Times. He was only there for the guy from like Ecuador or somewhere south of the border that's like ultra conservative. He was only there for that to write the article. And I'm literally looking over his shoulder and watching him write this headline that was so inflammatory, that was so not what we saw in that thing, like just essentially just destroying anybody that's right wing in any way, shape, or form. And I watched it happening, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, that's why. Like this guy's job from New York Times was go slam the president of this country that's a Trump supporter and that is a political conservative. And 3 weeks before, he had said a comment about no race mixing. That can be dangerously said, but it's a different language, first off. So there was some translation issues, and he was essentially talking about how they were having problems at their border, and he did not want, it's not like he didn't want race mixing marriages.
Right.
He didn't want that was their. It was
illegal.
He was essentially saying he didn't want illegal immigrants, but because of the language barrier, that's what it came out as. And so I'm watching this. I'm like, this is the problem.
I heard that's a big problem with the Russian language, like stuff we try to interpret just from Russia. We just don't even have terms for.
Right.
And so they
fill in the gaps.
Yeah. Yeah. They fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I'm like, we used to have like there's media people that you respected and you go back and you're like, man, that guy, he did it right. You know, that's how it's done. And now today you don't have that. And it's almost like, oh man, I can't think of their names. There's a guy and a girl. They were on Rogan actually. They've got a pretty good little news thing going on. I think he's like right wing, she's left wing, but
interesting.
Yeah, it's great. But their facts are fucking facts, and it's not biased. God, I can't think of the name of them.
Well, Hannity and Combs kind of used to be like that at one point, but that's what I kept getting. I had the news topic that I was covering for Fox News Radio for a couple days was talking about Meta or Facebook's whole thing about now they're getting fact checked for the election. Like, how can you fix it? My first answer was like, you really can't at this point. Just let it all go, but they're not going to do that. And I was like, oh wait. They just hired 10 fact checking organizations. Why not throw in some right ones? Not ridiculous, right? It's like Epic Times and Breitbart. Throw it in there, and they have to just collude on a yes or no.
Yeah,
like that's it. Like you have like their AI work against it. I mean, why not just make it somewhat fair? But it's like use both sides of the spectrum, because I guarantee you there's some issues with the right, just like there is with the left.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
So working for Fox, tell me this, because this is something I'd be interested in knowing. Did you ever, or did they ever like push like you have to lean this way, like on this?
So I don't work. So no. So I do Fox Sports, which is apolitical. And which is interesting because I would say that they're much more liberal. The people that I work with are all very liberal. I don't talk about my politics there. Fox Radio, I'm just a political analyst that's independent, and they reach out to me for radio spots. Okay. They don't push it either way, but I already know who I'm talking to. I'll feel out the host because I'll do it like little 10-minute spots in Columbus, Ohio to Seattle, Washington, and they're all conservative stations, but some are a little bit more like, I know that I can let my hair out conspiracy side more than others, but they're radio guys, so they have to fill 3 hours. So I don't know how they do it, to be totally honest. Every day having 3 hours of content, just going and going.
I could go.
It's pretty impressive.
I could go.
I feel like I could for like a couple days and then I'd be just exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I just had this conversation with my mother-in-law. I've had a podcast every day for the last 7 days.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So I'm your 7th day?
Yeah. And I got another one tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, bro.
And then how often do you release them?
And once a week.
Okay.
I'm already good through October.
Nice.
Like I've got, like you probably will be released the 3rd week of October, or maybe even the 1st week of November.
Can you title this one the October Surprise?
I could.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just do Hunter Biden's laptop. Let's get some crack. Let's just do it. that was the greatest October surprise that never was.
Right. All right. So behind your podcast.
So
sir.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Tell me.
So,
What was the idea? Why'd you get that shit started?
can I start with Be the Change? And that's because that's kind of how it started. It's a weird
it's your show.
How I got into it. So again, I wanted to use my voice, motivational speaker, and my company was on tailing in. I'm like, it's time to start moving on. So Be the Change in July 7th of 2016. Was that when the shooting happened in Texas? I believe that was it. When the 5 police officers were killed in the line of duty. Happened a mile from my house. I was living in downtown Dallas at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I had to make it home, and there was like road closures, and I was like, we heard what was going on. And I had already made the political switch to, your cough's fine. Leave it on there.
No. That's a good marker.
No,
I want to do a clip on that.
Oh, I thought you were like, I got to get rid of my cough. Yeah, I was we don't pay attention to that. But yeah.
Give a shit about that.
So no, I was making my way home, and I had already been I would say my switch politically happened with my own small business in like 2011. I was a 2-time Obama voter, and then all of a sudden I was like, something's just not right about the ideology in the Democrat Party. And I looked at, I think it was Michael Brown stuff, being from St. Louis, and I'm like, the narrative's bullshit. Yeah. It's all lying. Something's not right. And then the police shooting happened, and Trayvon Martin. And then the police shooting happened in Dallas. 5 police officers were killed in the line of duty at an event where they were protesting against the police for a shooting of somebody that did not comply with the law, where the police officer killed them. And the police officers were there to protect the people that hated them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is weird. And then 5 police officers were killed. And I wrote a whole thing up the next day, and it started bad. I screwed up in terms of my first line. I'm a very good writer, but I was angry, and I wrote, "Fuck Obama. Bad idea." Because a lot of the people that worked for me were African-American, were black, and they were all independent contractors. There was a hate group started on me. If you would have read the rest, it was bad. I had 150 people. I had somebody in the hate group that was letting me know what was going on so they could protect me a little bit. And they're like, we're going to reach out to his brands. It was ridiculous. But all I said was fuck Obama. And then the rest of it was a very long thing about how we need to be better as people. I was mad about Obama's. I thought the race relations were bad, and I thought we weren't taking ownership in our actions. All the narratives behind Michael Brown, all these different things led us to this point where 5 police officers that wanted to go home to their families were getting killed by a sniper or whatever happened. I still don't know. We don't know exactly what happened, but they took out the sniper the next day.
Oh, we know what happened.
Do you know that 100% what happened?
I watched the whole fucking thing.
Were you there?
No. The ATF and some other guys came and did a whole breakdown where I worked
really?
And showed us the whole like minute for minute.
No shit.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, there was always the So maybe later you can tell me the whole.
Yeah, I'll tell you
story.
offline.
Yeah, offline.
It's fucking nuts.
Really?
To give the guy tactical credit, I mean, he was fucking spot on.
He was good.
God damn, he was good.
Yeah. So I started Be the Change, and it started from that moment. I went online, and I'm like, my business there was no trademark. Funny enough, for Be the Change is one word. So I'm like, I'm gonna start working on a trademark. It took 2 years to get it. And I don't have it for clothing, but I have it for educational purposes. So I can use it kind of like, I'm going to do a Be the Change conference or whatever it might be. So that's when I started it. And then I started the Be the Change.
So you own that?
I own hashtag Be the Change and Be the Change.
I use that shit all the time because it's a good cop phrase.
Well, it's also a great, I mean, it's not, the thing is, it's almost, even though I have the trademark, it's almost non-trademarkable.
Yeah.
Like they said, do you want to fight for the clothing side of it? And then I got told like pretty much since it's Gandhi's quote, which it is, there's no way that I can really win in a court of law.
I see.
So it's unenforceable, but it's nice to say that I have, especially.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you would actually, if you sue me, you'll go in debt. Because
yeah, I mean, what am I going to like? Oh, here's a good one. Let's see if you can come up with this one. Sue me for what?
Oh.
Touch me and I'll sue you.
I know it. Give me a second.
Touch me and I'll sue you.
Give me a second. Then he decks him. He's like, sue me for what? Fuck, I can't remember it. Just tell me.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah, give me a hint.
Tommy Gunn was in it.
Yeah. It's the guy that was supposed to be like Don King on Rocky Five. Yeah.
Well done.
Touch me and I'll sue. You
Touch
got
me
it
and
wrong.
sue, yeah.
Touch me and I'll sue. Touch me and I'll sue.
Yeah.
He starts laughing.
Sue me for what?
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, so the hashtag Be the Change I started, and I had like 550 of my friends who were in it, and both sides. And politically, I kept it pretty sterile. And then, where was it? COVID started, and as somebody that was speaking, I just was getting into my motivational speaking career, just starting to get paid. The event world gets shut down. All my other events shut down. I'm locked in a house. I'm an extrovert, if you can't tell.
Yeah,
and
me too, baby.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I've never had depression issues. I'm like, this is pretty close. But I'm like, at first I was like, let me get into this. I had a girlfriend at the time from Charleston, South Carolina, and I just got so invested. I'm like, there's so much pent up. And my mom was a chiropractor, so I was big into natural health. COVID happened, and I'm like, I'm looking what's going on. And I remember my mom 25 years ago going, there's going to be an illness. And there's going to be a whole separation of society based on vaccines and all this stuff. And I was like, no shit. And like, she telegraphed it 25 years earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it happen. And then I started doing my own research on the findings and all this different stuff. And none of it makes sense. So I decided to do a 2-hour live on Be the Change on my personal page.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Impact Tactical. Impact is a tactical outfitter for the men and women of our military, police, fire departments, and other public safety around the country. Impact's core beliefs is that fearless men and women protect our freedom and safety should have access to the best tactical performance apparel, equipment, and tools on the market. And they shouldn't have to go broke to get it. I've used Impact for about 11 years, and I can attest that they do live up to their core values. So you get a personal recommendation from me. You can find them at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com. And be sure to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
To talk. And I'm like, oh God, that felt so good to get it all out.
Yeah.
And then, so this is April of 2020. So then I do a second or third show, and then George Floyd happens. And do you know do you remember Cashley Kelly at all?
No, remind me.
Black dude, like wearing the tank top in the car, smoking a cigarette, probably waiting for, I think, one of his kids to come out, talking about when are Black lives going to matter to Black people. And he was talking about how they're going to martial law everybody if you don't chill the fuck out and all this stuff. Went super viral. He was a nobody.
Okay.
Overnight, 1 million, 2 million, 4 million. And it just kept going up. Somebody sent me the video. I messaged him, said, hey, would you come on a show? And I had just done one show with 2 guys that I was doing some of these like streaming shows with.
Yeah.
And we did a show about, essentially race relations. And it was a really powerful show. I was super proud of it. It was like 2 hours long. We had both sides of the spectrum. Really, there was no side at that point. It was just kind of having a conversation. And I remember like 50 people were watching at one time.
Hell yeah.
Like, yeah. And we did a great job promoting it, and it was a good show. And then Cash, he messaged me back. And to any of the viewers that you have that actually remembers Cashley Kelly, he ended up at 400,000 viewers, 400,000 followers before he got January 6th and in jail. And there's a whole backstory because he also had a record from 2010. So there was issues from that because he's an ex-gangbanger. That's why he was able to speak to anybody. Brilliant dude. Absolutely just fucking brilliant to listen to. So he reached back out to me because he thought I was a dude he went to juvie with, whose name was like Anthony or something like that.
Probably Andrew.
Yeah, probably Andrew.
Russo. Yeah.
So he's like, this dude's reaching out to me, man. Like, I get to reconnect. So he got really excited about it, and it turns out it was just me. But he came on my show the next week. Or Truth Will Set You Free Tuesdays on Be the Change. And he comes on, and he's just got this loyal following. And Facebook hasn't figured out how to squash algorithms yet on some of this stuff. And we had like 1,200 people watching live.
Holy shit.
And I'm just watching the numbers go up as we get started on StreamYard. I'm like, holy shit.
I've had 32. That's the best I've had. Yeah, I was pumped.
I was like,
holy shit. And they just watched me play a fucking video game. And I start talking cop tactics. I'm like, all right, this is how I kind of look at this game because I'm playing CSGO.
Yeah.
I was like, when you get up to these walls, you don't want to be sucked up right to the corner. You actually want to back off and you can play your angles better. And I'm like trying to tell people, like, these are these military tactics, this is stuff we use, and I'm trying to explain
that's
as
awesome.
I'm not the best at the game by any means. It's still a game, but
probably better in real life than a lot of them are.
It's funny what just a little bit of actual tactical training will do for you in a game that these 12-year-old kids will destroy you in. But
I want to save a thought for later when we get maybe to like Uvalde and stuff. So write this down: video games and shootings, school shootings.
Okay. Yeah.
So to make the long story even longer in terms of how that worked out. So Cash and I ended up becoming really fast friends. I ended up being, for somebody deemed a racist, just because of political beliefs. I ended up being godfather to his kid, his newest newborn or whatever. I drove through the country to go see my grandpa. I stopped in Hammond, Indiana area, or where he was from, pretty close to there. And we became super, super close, kept doing shows together, kept building the Be the Change brand. And then while he's been in jail for January 6th, I rebranded Anything Media because I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no way the Be the Change messaging really works anymore. It's more media. Like Be the Change, I need to separate. So Truth Will Set You Free. I did Truth Tuesdays. I had 105 episodes where it started out again, just like you said, like you bring on a different opinion, bring on the cop or the people that don't necessarily agree, or the cops that are going to call out other cops, bring out somebody on the left, bring out on the right. It started out that way. Super hard to find people anymore on the left. And I think it's going to be even very hard suited to find police officers that feel differently, that are willing to come in front of a conversation, because leftist logic is much better argued in silent, without voice. And I sound like a dick for saying that, but this is much easier ways to manipulate words than looking at somebody in the eye and actually believing some of the stuff that comes out of the far leftist rhetoric.
Yeah.
And that's just...
I'm glad you isolated far left.
Yeah. I mean...
Because I think a lot of times, like for me, like I'll talk to some of my friends and family back home that are very far left.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't believe you're in Texas. Like, I just can't believe, like, how did you move there? Like, they're so fucked up. I'm like, have you been here? Well, no, I haven't been there. I'm like, okay, well, then what are you saying?
Yeah.
I was like, you know me. Do you think my heart's changed because of me being
just
down here? Just
because you're in Texas?
I said, I'm still the same guy. Like, I take each topic as it is for what it is for me. Like, one that I'll share freely with people. If you want one political view, like, telling a woman what she can do with her body. Yeah. I'm never going to do that. I don't think I can. Would I ever personally get an abortion? Me personally? No, I wouldn't, but I can't. I'm a man. And two, there's no fucking way I would ever want to tell another person what to do with their body. That's where I'm at on that. Yeah.
So, you and I are actually in the exact same, like that's, so I'm a classical liberal. So I think a lot of like, beliefs like that are one where I'm pro-choice for the masses. I think to me as a Christian, and I'm sure there's going to be people that disagree with this, but as a Christian, it's not my place to judge what somebody else is going through. Yeah. And I don't want to place that imposition on their body. And a lot of the conversations I have with my own people on my shows, they slam me for it, and they call me a lukewarm Christian. I'm like, it's just not my thing. I don't want to. I believe in everybody having a choice to do things. Yeah, and through police work, it's opened my eyes up a lot. I see a lot of things that I had I had a pretty strong opinion about. Mm-hmm. Nothing that I voiced out loud, but coming down south here and dealing with illegal immigrants and stuff like that, and then I'm seeing what I see as the real picture. I'm seeing just families coming to the land of opportunity, trying to make it, and it softened my heart quite a bit when it comes to those types of issues. And now I want to get into this. So what's your opinion on immigration now?
This is not a political show, but I'll tell you mine. The way I look at it is we have a legal system and a way to get here legally, and I think that's the way you should follow it.
Yeah.
And by all means, you should protect the country how you need to protect the country.
Okay.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Whoever's here and I have to deal with them, I'm going to judge that person based on the reasons that I have to deal with them as a police officer. So that's kind of how I see it. If I show up to a house and somebody just broke into their home and they all work, they're all trying to, this happens. There's 12 people stacked up in this little tiny ass house, and they're just, you can see they're trying to make a better life.
How crazy is it that in America is better than what they came from? I think people need to recognize that.
Yeah.
Too.
And so for me, that's what I say when I got a soft heart for it, because I see that. And then I see them get victimized. And out of that one person, that one family that called the police, there's 50 others that didn't, because they know their status and they think that we're going to send them back.
Yeah.
And that's not what we do. That's not what police do. That's not what regular police officers, ICE and all them, like, that's their job. Like, that's what they do. And if they have a reason to come get you, they're going to come get you for whatever reason that may be, whether it's a criminal record they find out about from, where you came from, whatever it is. But my job isn't that. My job is to keep the peace here and for what I see. And so when I come to a house, like I said, I remember specifically, I pulled over a truck as he's pulling into his driveway. And I'm thinking he's just pulling over and he just pulls into the driveway to get off the street. Yeah. Now, this is 2 a.m. And I'm thinking drunk. I can't remember the reason I pulled this guy over, but I pull him over. He's got no license. Truck is
looking rough.
He's looking rough. Registration was out, but he had insurance, which is rare. Normally it's you don't have any of those things if you don't have that one thing. So and then I just see like 15 people come out of the house, like just looking, no shirts on, stuff like, it's nighttime, they're sleeping, they're in their sleep clothes. They're looking out of the house and they look nervous and worried, and this guy's dressed in nothing but construction stuff. And I'm like, hey man, I can't remember why I pulled him over, but I had a reason to stop him. And it's, I think I pulled him over because I thought he was drunk. Yeah. Turns out he was tired. Motherfucker had been working like 18 hours in the Texas heat on the freeway. He was a freeway worker. So pull him over, say, I get his story. He tells me everything, very broken English, but I figured it out. And as we get going, I'm like, this is your house? Like, he's like, yeah, it's my family. He's like, they're probably just worried. And I said, you got insurance? I was like, what's up with the rest? He's like, I work all day long. He's like, I don't speak very good English, and I'm trying. He's trying to do the right steps. He's having a hard time. Yeah, and he's got a support. I saw it firsthand. Yeah. And
never met a pullout that he liked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, his pullout game's weak. And he's Catholic. So that's just how it is. Yeah, I grew up Catholic, but so I see it, and I'm like, it was another eye-opening. That's why I remember this specific event, because I grew up in Michigan. I didn't see that. That wasn't a thing. That's not normal for me. So I had all these preconceived notions up there, but then I come down and I see it firsthand, and I see a guy that's trying to do all the right steps. He just needs a little help. So I'm like, all right, dude, the way I can help you tonight is I'm not going to tow your vehicle. I'm not going to, no tickets, no nothing.
So he had insurance, and he was not legally supposed to be.
He had a Mexican driver's license.
But you're
from Mexico,
so you're allowed to be.
So, but
temporarily,
it doesn't.
It's a gray area.
Yeah, it's a gray area, and it's one of those things. Like, I'm a cop. I don't know if this is real. I don't. I can't tell that. Yeah. So it could have been fake. I don't know. So he showed me what he had, but he was honest, and I saw I saw his text dot stuff. He had a job. I knew he was working. Yeah. And you can see it in the guy's face. He's not drunk. Dude is just worn the fuck out. Yeah. And he was doing what he could do, and I respect that, and I love that, and that, to me, that's the American dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so he's doing that. He's supporting his family. He's doing all the right steps, and so for me, I like I said, that's what softened my heart on the whole issue. Was before I was like, fuck it. If you're illegal, you don't belong here. That's kind of how I had seen it at first, and that was coming from ignorance of never being around it.
Oh, I'm a big the deporting thing is if you're. And that's the problem with how open the border is, in my opinion, is once you've kind of got here, I hate the whole, like Obama deported more immigrants than any president in history. I think it was like 11 million. It was crazy how many he deported. I mean, you're here. If you're doing what you can, you've kind of found a way. Just keep working towards. Yeah. And we have a broken.
It's not black and white. Right. It can't be so. What do they say? Mutually exclusive. Right. It can't be that way.
But if you can stop them at the border, stop them. Like to me, sure. And don't invite them like they did during the election process. Sure. That's the problem. But I'm with you on that. Like once you're face to face with the individual, treat them like a human being, because we do have a great country, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's why they're coming here.
Yeah,
I mean, you do have terrorists trying to get in too, but
for nefarious reasons. Yeah. Look at what it's funny you say you're from Flint, and again, it's also era based.
It's not so funny, but it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I just interviewed Brian Ardis. He's the anti-remdesivir guy.
What?
Remdesivir for the corona. He's a doctor. So, he was the one that says it's like all in the water. Like and it's funny because we're talking about Flint and
fuck that guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, honestly, eye opening, and he makes enough sense where you're like, shit, it probably is. But anyways, so I just got back from the rodeo road with my girlfriend in Missoula, Montana.
Missoula, been there many times. I was stationed in Montana for 4 years.
How many years ago?
06, 2010.
I wonder if it's different. Was that the weirdest fucking town you've ever been to, Missoula?
Missoula? I mean, for Montana, yes.
It was so far left, so far kooky.
Well, it's a college town.
I go to college towns all the time. My girlfriend and I, she's my girlfriend who always says that I'm like a pansy. She's like, you're the manliest guy here. This is awkward. Yeah. Like, it was Austin on steroids. And I think there's a reason, like you said about Flint, is so you left in 2010?
I left Montana in 2010.
Yeah. So last time you saw Missoula was 2010-ish.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, again, like we said, the media has perpetrated this thing since like 2012 and on. It was like petting this.
I know it's soft.
It is.
The cat hair gets attached to it though.
A couple drinks and you're like,
well, I put some ecstasy in there. So.
I'm gonna end up naked.
Yeah.
No. All right.
My master plan has come to fruition.
Some guy's house. No. So I think because they're so separate, it's not diverse in Missoula at all. It is as white as it gets.
Oh, that's Montana in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you've got the university and then what's on the media. And yes, there's the faction of Montana that is predominantly conservative. Missoula was so much weirder than anything I've ever seen in Austin in terms of not bad weird, but like keep Missoula weird is their thing. Every building had the Black Lives Matter on it. Every restaurant had it. Like, have you guys ignored the fact that we found out that yes, everybody believes Black Lives Matter, but the whole organization is garbage? Have we not figured that out yet?
Yeah.
And then it's got end hate and all this stuff. I'm like, there's no hate here. It's all a bunch of people that have the exact same mindset. You guys are all friendly. I think, though, because they don't see anything about the bad areas, that all they think is what the media tells them to do. I've never seen more people with purple, pink, blue hair. Again, totally cool. Like sometimes you're expressing yourself, but when it's everybody there, first couple I saw walking literally as I got out of the car, guy bigger than me, dressed as a woman with a little tiny guy. And it was like, and that was everywhere we went.
In Missoula?
In Missoula.
Really?
My girlfriend and I agreed. We were like, I've never seen it. Like, this was the most ultra left town I've ever been to.
No
and I
shit.
think it's because
when was it?
A week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was saying when I went there, it was just a normal place.
But that's what I'm saying. Is think about the programming they've seen. They don't see any real life of like, okay, there's some racially, there's some bad areas that might be black, like, you know, whatever it might be. Like, let's look at real statistics are completely far from their perspective. And I think that they believe that we still live in an oppressed country. And I noticed that I'm like, it's just probably hyperinflated. I wonder when it started. And it's interesting to know that you left in 2010 and it was just kind of liberal. It's not like
I mean, it was, you could like any college town, like you could tell it's a college town. I'm like, all right, he's got some kids that are out, you know, and you know, I was that same way at that age, you know, very, very idealistic and trying weird things. But I think Montana's very California'd now. I mean,
especially those cities like that.
Yeah. And no knock against California, but y'all got a certain way of life over there. And It's so culturally ingrained. Like people that aren't from there be like, that seems very California-ish.
Yeah.
You know, which is no different than if a bunch of Texans were to come over to, you know, Pennsylvania, be like, y'all ain't from around here,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
and like they were wearing like the flood pants, like the guys were and I'm not like, it's fun. We were out enough because we went to dinner. We walked like a mile back to our car to see that there was just not anybody that would be like, oh, they'd fit in Texas.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was all, and not from a judgy perspective. It was just different.
Yeah.
It was very different.
It's one of the things I like going to Austin for. I feel like I'm getting a change of scenery.
Yeah.
And I go there and I'm just like, man, you're ballsy for wearing those pants, guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally, I can see your balls. Like,
yeah,
dude, like, good for you. I don't have that confidence.
Kudos. Yeah.
I don't. I don't have, and my thighs are real big, so it just doesn't work for me.
Nuts, absolutely nuts.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah,
just nuts. Ice nuts.
And ice, exactly.
Yeah, you had ice nuts. It was ice nuts truckers, whatever.
Yeah. So then I went. Totally.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about the podcast. Why I did the podcast.
Why you do the podcast?
Yeah. So truth will set you free. So I continued to do it. We took a hiatus in the beginning of the summer.
So that was the name. Truth will set you free.
It was Truth Tuesdays. Truth will set you free Tuesdays on Be the Change Network.
Okay.
That's how it started. I was trying to get investors and different stuff like that. And now I'm partnering.
I'm glad we're friends now because I don't know any of this shit.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, I'm like, I got a huge plan. I'm going to be the next Blaze. And it's not really but
you need to get you a Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, Cashley Kelly was it. And when he's out, it will hyperinflate.
So he went, let me get this straight. He went to the January 6th stuff.
Yeah.
He stormed the Capitol type thing.
We both were there. I didn't go in the building. He did.
Smart man. I wouldn't recommend that.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. It was pretty damn. Did you go?
Close? Hell no, I didn't go. I didn't even know about that stuff.
Truth about
I don't
that
follow
day.
politics.
Okay.
I'm just that guy. I don't follow. I don't watch the news.
I am fucking jealous of you right now.
If it's not on Netflix, I don't see it. Let's put it that way.
No, I don't know how I got to, to think I was an arts, like who would have thought that I would have gotten this invested in politics? This is not, it's always funny when people like, when I do the radio stuff, like news analyst, a political analyst. I'm like, bitch, I went to art school. Like I literally, I graphic designed my way to whatever. So we both went, and I'm going to tell you that day was not what anybody thinks it is. And yes, there was some bad stuff that happened. Absolutely. There was people that pushed the envelope. I was as close as you can get, and I didn't see any of the bad. I saw a couple no, I shouldn't say any. I didn't see what you saw on TV, but everybody at home.
Yeah.
That 5-minute loop from different angles of the building was all happening at the same time. We've come to the conclusion. There's also 17,000 hours that Cash has gotten to see in jail of police really starting the shit. One of the people that died was trampled. She was originally, there's video that he has seen that none of us have seen yet because they have to see it for their court cases. The cops beat her, and she ended up getting trampled after she was already on the ground beaten.
Oh, so they were trying to keep her back, and then the crowd...
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now I heard, and this is coming from
you're good.
ignorance, but I had heard that some cops were like, yeah, I guess we got to let you guys through.
Beyond that.
Really?
Like, I fist bumped a cop. I was up on the lawn. I was past where the barriers were that I did not know were there because they'd been gone for so long. So I got from me to 35, 40 feet from the door. My girlfriend literally was like, and she barrel racer. So,
yeah. Probably not a good idea.
No.
Oh, she was like, let's
go in. Because people think there was nobody going in. There was thousands of people going in that building. So the fact there was only 400 arrested is bullshit. They're picking and choosing who they wanted.
Okay.
People were going in and out of that building. And we were chilling. There was cops hanging out. I fist pumped a cop 20 feet away from that.
Yeah.
It was the most patriotic, fun day you could possibly imagine. And people look at me and be like, you're a dick for saying that. You weren't there. Like I remember a guy passing by me going, this is the greatest day of my life, except for when my kid was being born. No shit. Line out of a movie. Said it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I'm glad I went because I know that I have a specific memory of that day that will not be tainted by what the media portrayed it as. And when I got back to the hotel and we saw like the other side that had people trying to go through, I did see one person banging on a piece of glass, trying to get in on a scaffolding, which I thought was very odd. He was dressed differently than everybody else. I do know, especially since I've gotten to talk to people in the jail through Cash, there were some
plants.
There were some plants, but there were some Trumpers that were batshit crazy that were
for sure,
right. But out of the 500,000 people there that day, there was about 400, 500 that were a little bit nefarious, and there was 100 that actually acted out. And then there's a couple hundred people that nobody knows where the hell they went, which is interesting. And you also, I mean, starting with the Ray Epps conspiracy or whatever you want to call it, the guy that worked for the FBI. That's
no shit.
Yeah, there's so much.
Me personally, anytime I think of anything federal buildings, like even as a cop, I'm like, no, I don't fuck around with those. Like,
I see. I'm a rule follower, so I wouldn't have done much. My girlfriend wanted to go in, and like I said, like we're right there. And the reason we didn't go in because people were going in and out, like nothing, and people are chilling. It was not what you see on TV, except for that one little, I guess, window or whatever.
Now, what were the cops saying while you were there? Was anybody saying like, yeah, it's cool, you guys can come in?
So for me, what I saw was a cop just chilling.
Yeah.
Giving fist bumps to me and several other people.
Did you ask, like, are we allowed to go in?
No, I didn't. But I know Cash and that, like, there was the group flagging people in, saying, go ahead. Whether they were, nobody's ever interviewed that cop from the video that moved the barricade and went, go ahead. Nobody's ever found that guy. I think that'd be a really interesting person to interview.
Yeah, for sure. Is he still alive?
If he is, if he wasn't.
I heard some of those cops have died since then.
It's interesting.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Some of the cops. So yeah, the cop.
And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm just telling you what I heard.
This whole thing is kind of so crazy. So the cop the one that you can say died because of the incident, which Biden, well, not Biden, everybody on the left championed, like they killed a police. This is the pro-police party. They killed a police officer. Ugh. He got dinged, I guess, by a fire hydrant, and it wasn't that severe. But 3 days later, he died of a stroke, I believe.
Oh,
could have been stress related. But they deemed it in the autopsy a month later unrelated. They were saying that he succumbed to his injuries from the Capitol. He had 0 injuries from the Capitol. He got hit with a fire hydrant, had no injury from it except for like, ow.
How the hell did he get hit by a fire hydrant?
I don't know where they were grabbing shit from. Like, the thing is, for an armed insurrection, they found, I think, like two guns later on, and they found them in photos because they were brandished slightly. So I don't think you can call it an armed insurrection when a bunch of pro 2A people showed up at a place without their guns.
Yeah.
So, and then some of the police officers that I'm finding out passed away after due to suicide were not necessarily police officers that ever spoke of how bad the day was, which makes you think like
Clinton.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. Like it's super weird. And some of the people that are dying. So here's another fun fact. And I haven't talked about this yet on my stuff. I've been planning on it. So Cash, I talked to him quite a bit. I was actually kind of the conduit about the prison treatment, the January 6th prison treatment to like Newt Gingrich was hearing about it through Cash, through me, through Julie Kelly, and then to Newt. It's like when they were in bad solitary confinement for a while. And these are a bunch of like Cash at least like had a criminal background from when he was younger.
Did you get arrested at all?
No.
Okay,
I got questioned by the FBI.
Okay.
They came to my girlfriend's house and we ended up like going to lunch at Hard 8 with them. But that was pretty funny.
Nice.
And I've recently reached back out to that FBI officer because he was a good old boy. He was a good dude. And he's like, I can't do it anymore. He's getting close. He's like, I got to find a way out. And,
okay.
Yeah. So they were good. Everybody's like, you need to get a lawyer. I'm like, I'm a professional speaker. Like, not to sound like a dick, but I'm like, I'm not going to say anything that incriminates myself. Like, you're not going to get me like nervous and saying something stupid.
Yeah.
You know. But the funny thing is, first question he asked me, he's like, so, it was two of them. So this Be the Change organization you have, could this be deemed as a group that incites hate and violence? Like, the Be the Change group. Right. Like, it's in the name.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? But we quickly moved past that. But yeah, the whole day is just not right. But the thing that I was going to mention with him is there's been a lot of the people that have been jailed that have committed suicide or died of a heart attack. These people, the most recent one that committed suicide was facing a 6-month sentence coming up. 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough reason to commit suicide based on that. What was interesting about his case is any of these cases where people don't take the plea bargain means that during discovery, the footage that none of us can see, that's 17,000 hours, some of the footage of the day that shows what happens with the police officers, the Capitol police officers did, and what was going on where people were being let in certain areas, more so would get publicized, would be able to be publicized. It's interesting that these are the people that are fighting it a little harder are all of a sudden dying.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until about 2 weeks ago. And Cash wasn't the one that told me because he was like, it's on a recorded line. So he's very careful what he says. But his buddy came on and started explaining. And Cash goes, I've been wanting to tell you that, but I can't. I can't say it, but he can.
Oh, shit.
The other guy's like loaded, like really wealthy. There's a guy that's worth millions of dollars and they're locked in with him. No matter how much money he has, he can't get out right now. And he's facing a bigger sentence because he did fight back against a police officer.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a dumb move.
Dumb move. His reasons were interesting. He was one of the cops. The cops were undermanned, and I can tell you that. Like the crowd was
You
calm.
said 500,000 people? If-ish?
I would say anywhere from 300 to 500,000 at the speech. At the actual Capitol, I would say 30 to 50,000.
Okay.
Like that, where that's a lot of people around a building, and I would say that's about the accurate number.
Yeah.
Because I have photos going back that direction, and so Cash, shit, what was I thinking of? Capitol, people. I don't remember.
You were trying to allude to like what you said he had fought with police, and then what he had seen.
Oh, well, so this guy specifically, he got in a tussle with one of the police officers that was pushing a woman that was like going back and forth, and he grabbed his baton or whatever it was, and he fought back against him. Mm-hmm. And then they just got into a typical guy's fight, which isn't okay. I don't think that's ever okay with a police officer.
Yeah.
But that's apparently what happened, but he did end up hitting the guy with one of his equipment, I believe, from what I understand. So he's facing like 7 years for it. Just think that would have happened during the BLM riots. But yeah, so that's kind of the situation going on with the people at the Capitol. It's just there's so many questions, and it does.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by HRH Combat Arms. They can turn your vision into reality. They specialize in gunsmithing and Cerakoting. Your Cerakote specialist is Air Force veteran and retired police sergeant Paul Ware, aka the Sarge. He can Cerakote your firearms, auto parts, tools, even your sports equipment. This veteran-owned business is located at 5025 Saunders Suite 103, Fort Worth, Texas 76119. You can call them at 682-304-0363, and you can find them online at www.hrhcombatarms.com. That's www.hrhcombatarms.com.
Does not make sense.
What did Cash get? What was his?
He hasn't. So this is even more fucked up. So he's serving. If you want I'll give the background. So he was a previous gangbanger. He was on. He took a plea bargain or took an agreement in 2017. COVID started when he was supposed to get sentenced for his gang stuff. He was the only one that didn't have a RICO on his case. So he was actually hoping to get out with community service and whatever. So the sentencing kept getting pushed. People started to see what he was doing. He started something called Streetlights. Streetlights was his unity movement and working towards building a charity. He's got like 9 kids. He loves having kids. It was always a goal in his life, which is interesting. But he got permission as he started getting more into political speaking from his lawyer. His lawyer would talk to the probation officer. What would it be?
Same thing.
Yeah. Would get them the right to go. He spoke in California with politicians. Spoke in different parts of India. He would get permission to leave, again, based on the conditions of his parole. I was like you to me, but with a screen in between us. We were about to start a live when we were waiting to see if we were going to be able to go to the Capitol. I think it's this weird setup. So he's a weak target because of his background, his having a criminal record. There's certain people in this country that can speak to anyone. When it comes to race relations, black people that have a history have a more powerful voice, period. Because what are you going to tell a black dude? Be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. The David Harris's of the world, Officer Tatum's. Look at how powerful and loud. Candace Owens, how powerful their voices are. They also have very clean records. Cash didn't. This is very weird. I was watching him in the face when he got the phone call when his lawyer, his little meek crap ass court appointed lawyer who had been given good to this point said, yeah, Cash, you're allowed to go. You're good to go. And he goes, I'm good to go to DC. The lawyer signed a 17-hour return where he was able to go to Texas and speak with me. And he had given the details. He was supposed to go to Texas, meet up with me, and then we were going to drive my RV over to DC.
Okay.
And then come back in 6 days. He signed a 17-hour release just to go to Texas and back. He had no idea. So Cash thought he was good to go. So we get out there, and again, then they licked his chops, the fact that he took the bait and went in, and we were separate from each other at that point. The reason why we didn't go in, by the way, is we saw finally people leaving with, first off, there's Proud Boys coming out saying, nobody go in anymore. There's nobody to talk to. Their purpose was to yell at members of Congress or Senate to tell people. But they're like, there's nobody in there. And then all of a sudden we saw people with pepper spray in their eyes. And I was like, Kelly, let's go. Let's get out of here. Thankfully, it wasn't 20 minutes different. But he went in, he did the thing, he took a picture on a statue, never broke anything. Not good, not okay. It's something that I can't condone, obviously, to do that and break the rules and sanctity of this country. So he it was in his main trial from that. He was supposed to be getting probably community service, as I said. They ended up giving him 4 years, which is exactly what people that did not cooperate with law enforcement got, that had RICOs, got 4 years.
Really?
So they punished him for something that he had not been convicted of yet in DC. So now fast forward to he's in the DC jail, which, as you know, jails are a lot worse than federal prison. He should be serving federal prison time.
Right.
He's been serving in DC. He's been serving in the DC jail. So he gets out for a while. It was like solitary confinement shit, but he gets out 1 hour every 2 days if they're not on lockdown. So it's been a really rough run for him in that jail. And everybody else in there is people that have never broken the law. Like, think about like me and you. Well, I don't know if you've ever broken the law. You served the law. But like
in Flint, sir, but I can't speak of anything.
So I'm like, I think about somebody like me or 50, 60, 70 years old that's literally stuck in this place. So his maximum sentence for what he did in DC, he's the one that's in there for the longest. Sorry, he's the one that's in there for the least crime right now that's still left in there. He had a misdemeanor breaking and entering in a federal building, which it serves a maximum of 1 year. He has been in the DC jail for 18 months.
Okay, so he's over his year.
And they keep pushing his trial.
Oh, shit. So by the time he goes through, they're going to be like, time served. But he served more than the time he should have.
Right, but they're the prosecuting attorney, because I've listened in on the court cases, the court stuff when they've postponed it. He is fighting so that it's not concurrent with the other sentence. So there's a chance he'll be out in February.
Okay.
January, there's a chance he'll be out a year later.
Fuck.
Stupid.
Man.
It's crazy.
I just had a guy on that was wrongfully convicted for 23 years for murder. Didn't commit it.
Is that guy?
No, that's not that guy.
Okay.
No, this was the guy that was on Joe Rogan.
Derek
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah. Good dude. But the impressive part with his was, here he is facing a life sentence basically, and in Rikers, and jailhouse lawyers his way through and basically wins his own freedom. Mm-hmm. And his skill that he had took teaching himself the law in prison kept him safe in prison, because that's a good pet to have, as they say in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have got that reference. That was good.
Yeah. So he was teaching himself the law, and then he started getting these other prison guys that were like, hey, this is what's going on with my case. What can you help me with? And like, after that, he's a protected man. Yeah. Like, nobody would fuck with him, even though he's a big dude.
Yeah. There was more to it.
There was more. Yeah. And so just the fact that, like I said, the fact that he had to win his own shit, 23 years, and now you got your guy. Obviously, I mean, he fucked up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm lucky that he has kept his head about him.
Yeah.
He's been working out. He's in good shape. Like he's actually gotten more center, because when him and I met, he didn't know where he stood politically. He just knew that he had a message. And then he got more conservative than I was, more pro-Trump. And now he's going, as long as he comes out in the next 6 months His message is going to be super powerful, super middle ground, unified.
Yeah.
He's read so much. He's like, I understand Antifa more. Like, I mean, the original faction of the anti-fascist movement, take away what Antifa can be. Yeah, but he's like, there's a purpose behind all of it, and he's a brilliant dude.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to hopefully him getting out and us getting back to work.
Well, when he gets out and all that, and bring him in, and we'll talk about that experience on the police side.
He's got to be your second podcast.
He doesn't have to be the second. I'm not.
Well, he's going to be down here in Texas.
Yeah,
he's just got to get permission to get down here. But no, it's a fascinating story. He's still to this day. If you say his name in certain kind of like groups, it's so funny too. Like the 40 to 65-year-old white women love him.
Love him.
Like that was his
demographic.
It's killer. So it's like, what the hell?
Good for him.
You bring him up on like I guess Ashley Babbitt's family has been outside the prison. So when they found out Cash was singing, because he was singing down to them or yell, whatever it was, the viewership went from like 7 people watching to like 300.
That's hilarious.
Just like that.
He's a good singer then.
Oh yeah, he can sing. He's
nice.
Good. Talented dude. He's just not tall. He's like 5'7". But
okay.
He says he's much taller laying down.
I like it. I can't claim that.
Yeah, me neither.
I think I get shorter and wider. That's all.
Yeah.
But
it's not my strong suit.
Yeah. All right. So through that, so your podcast started with the second person, is what you're telling me.
It started with other people. My buddy Curtis and Aaron, and they couldn't, as we got more political, they didn't want to associate Truth Tuesdays that way. So then it became Cash and me, and we like met other people, and we kept doing different stuff. And now it's before we took the little hiatus, it was Casey. Cash was already gone at this point. Casey, a woman by the name of Suni Blanks, and then Monique Peters, her handles Let's Talk Darling. She's super badass. I'm still going to continue to keep working with her, and then Casey. And then, we just kept doing these shows, and we had a lot of people from both sides having the conversation. And as time went, it just became more news-based, which is why it didn't fit the Be the Change mold, because it was like we had to bring up media topics, and then less and less people on the left were willing to come on.
Yeah.
And we weren't mean to people at all. We're like, hear it out. And I always disagree with the whole, like, and that's why Suni and I got in some fights, because Suni would be like, I'm like, you're on camera. Like, no, having a conversation with an adult, be like, I disagree because.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't mind an emotional, like sometimes I welcome it. Like, you're obviously emotionally invested into this sport.
Yeah.
Let's just explore that. But
you can't once in a while.
Yeah.
But when
once
it's
in a
like
while.
every time somebody has a dissenting opinion, like, so we're gonna rebrand it with the Great American Syndicate crew with Barb Allen and Dave Brown. They are the ones that did Great American Summit out here. And I think we're going to make it a shorter show, and that's how it is. And then lastly, to finally end the longest question in history, the longest answer in history, I should say.
I like elaborate.
So I had the blunt force logic rants that I was doing, and then I stopped doing them for a while, and I'm like, all right, I want to do a show. I've been doing interviews with people for a long time. I really think I'm good at interviewing, so I want to do a one-on-one. I want it in person. Jeff Crilly out of Dallas, he's an ex news guy, started a PR firm, and we talked for a while, and he's like, do a podcast. I'll help you with PR. I'll get you on the radio stations. And I branded Blunt Force Discussion, plain and simple. And then I've been blessed. My first guest was Chad. I don't even know how that happened. I met him at one of his campaign events. We resonated with each other. I got on his show a little bit after. I've had, in a matter of 11 episodes with a very minimal following, I've managed to have Prather, Shemaine Nugent, Officer Tatum, Officer Mattingly from the Breonna Taylor situation, Dr. Brian Artis, who's huge in that kind of conspiracy medical community, Tony Van Schoik, who's the third in charge of Monate, which is a third in the line, I guess, which is a network like a $2.3 billion network marketing company.
Wow.
Jara, kind of a badass herself, obviously. Yeah, just great. Like, I've been lucky to have that for the first 11 episodes. And then, of course, Jordan, the one that his wife is the influencer. Yeah. So, and I handled it well. So she said, I got to get monetized before this happens. Because she's like, she's been on Good Morning America, and they trashed her. Like, they cut the clips and whatever.
Oh, no.
Which made her look even worse. It was her, like, PR apology move. And she had some stuff that was deemed a scam from her fitness industry stuff. Nothing cost over $300. Yes, I don't agree with people scamming people.
Right.
But it's not, they received something, they just didn't like it enough. And she's just deemed this horrible person. They're ultra Christian people now specifically, and that's her brand. And she has now said that as soon as she is able to speak on the case, because there's a district attorney, like the big case against her. What is that called in the area?
Like a grand jury?
Not a grand jury. When the actual why am I drawing a blank on the words? There's an indictment on her, like talking about stuff, but it's generated from the state.
I don't know.
The attorney general.
Oh,
yeah. So she got an attorney. So as soon as it's said and done,
why I don't know. That's out of my realm.
Yeah. So as soon as the attorney general's case is over, she's like, because of the way you treated my husband, which was fair because he was a police officer. I've had a lot of police officers, obviously, as you can see. So 3 police officers out of 11 shows. You treated him well. She's like, I'm not gonna go to the media. I'm gonna do my first show with you.
Nice.
I'm like, shit. I need to be monetized for that because she's got a lot of haters. She's got a lot of supporters, a lot of haters. So it'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought up the topic of just having police officers on because obviously that's my wheelhouse. I can get all the officers on I want, and I've got just in my department alone, I've got just some of the most interesting people that like. If I could mold America's police force after where I'm at, we all have our problems. Even my own department, we have our problems.
It's humans.
Yes, it is. But holy shit, when I say a department's got it right, where I'm at, we've got it right. And I think, yes, there's things we can improve on, and I think we are trying to, which is all I can ask. Yeah. Like, at least acknowledge that we need to improve here. And we'll get there eventually. But, man, some of the officers that I've seen or that I've tried to get on that are prominent names, I cannot believe the responses I'm hearing. I can't believe it. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like,
from the police officers?
Yeah. Who the fuck are you? Like, I'm asking you to come on to give a perspective to help.
Yeah.
Help. Like, that's what you signed up for, dude. Like,
do you know Drew Brees?
I know Drew Brees.
not the NFL player.
No, who's Drew Brees?
He was actually the last episode we had of Truth Will Set You Free. Police officer speaking on behalf of the Uvalde police. In terms of don't forget video games and shit. The human aspect of it. But and 2 of our hosts, Kevin and Suni, just went so hard on him, and I thought specifically Kevin. And he's just providing a point. And anyways, he is well known. He's got a whole organization for police officers, not local, but good dude, really good dude. And he's got a good following too. Nice. His organization, I'll look it up when we're done. But he's a good guy, and he's a guy that all he wants to do is analyze. Like you said, come on and be like, let's break this down and look at it logically. Like, this cop screwed up, or this cop didn't screw up because, like, to the untrained eye, a lot of times people will go, that cop, they see too many movies that think that it's like a damn movie, and it's not.
Shoot him in the leg. Like, dude, I can't hardly shoot a target when I'm being timed. Like, I'm just kidding. I can shoot a target pretty good. Yeah. But like when things are moving in the situation, it's different. And people forget that, on a bad day, a chef doesn't cook the risotto enough when things are going wrong in his personal life, and cops are human beings. Yeah. And if things are going on in personal life, maybe you're 3 split second behind, 3/10 of a second, and it makes a huge issue. And we can talk on Uvalde a little bit. I've done it already. As soon as it happened, I got a school resource officer, one that does for the area that I work. Because I think the way our school resource officers do the job is very good. I mean, the mold. Yeah. Because they don't just show up to school every day and just go, okay, well, this is today's work again. Yeah. They are, like, they vary what school they go to. They constantly move. You cannot predict their movements as far as, like, where that officer is going to be that day. Right. That's intentional. Yeah. And that's smart. That's how it should be. Because who knows? The people that are trying to take advantage of that cop are the ones that are in that building, for the most part. Yeah. Obviously, Uvalde was a weird one, but so they've got that. They investigate social media. Like, that's what they do. When you're like, what the fuck does that cop do all day at that school? That's what he's looking at. Yeah. And he's making relationships with the kids That's great during lunchtime, whatever it is. But while they're in class and he's not, walking the hallways or checking lockers or whatever, he's looking at social media.
Really?
Or she. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Because that is, I deal with the worst of the worst all the time. Like, that's my job as a detective. I'm constantly dealing with shitheads that steal stuff, break into stuff, hurt people, all that crap. And guess what? The majority of these guys, they're, 17 to 25 years old, and they like to share their crimes on social media. So for me, I catch that stuff on social media all the time. Now take a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid. That's their life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you weren't looking into social media already, as one of the discussions we had, if you're not looking at social media as a school resource officer, you're not doing your job.
No.
And so we had that discussion. He tells me the training that they go through. Not only are they doing that, they're alert trained. And I don't know if you've seen alert yet, but alert training is basically learning how to respond to active shooters primarily in schools because of Columbine. And so you're using real guns. They look like real guns, but they shoot paint rounds.
Okay.
So it's the same type of weapon that you'd use. And like, if I were to show up for alert training, I would do it in a school, right? Like, we'd go use that actual school that I may respond to one day.
Right.
And there's certain areas that are closed off and it's summertime. The kids aren't there or anything like that. But you go through and you learn hard lessons sometimes, you get shot the shit up with these paint rounds and they fucking hurt. But, it's alert training is very awesome. It's one of the best things you can do, and it's about as close to real as we can currently get. You know, so I do that training, and I'm certified that I've taken alert training.
Yeah,
our SROs are trainers; they teach the stuff. So that is another level. That is how it should be, in my opinion. So you get all this training. What I meant to say through all of this is, despite all that training and doing that stuff, if you've never been next to an AR or a AK, a 7.62 round or a 223, 5.56, whatever you want to call it, if you've never been standing, just somebody that's shooting down at a range and been right next to it, and felt the concussion that comes out of that weapon, I don't care how much training you've had. We all have an idea in our head, like, this is how I'm going to respond. I'm going to rush in. Fuck that. Just kids' lives at the line. Our body have this weird physiological response to the concussion of rifle fire coming at us. Any concussion. Think about the big ass lightning bolt that goes off, or thunder. Right. You just like it. Yeah. You have no control. Like, it just fucks you up for a second. Yeah. Now imagine that, and knowing that those rounds are coming at you. Like, I don't care how much you train until you've been in the shit. You don't know how you're going to respond
until you get punched in the face. You don't know
exactly. The Mike Tyson approach to it, and anybody that's been in the shit, like really been in the bad end of some stuff, can speak on that. And that's one of the things that really bothers me about the Uvalde thing. Yes, universally, I agree. They screwed up. Yeah. Do I think it was intentional? People are getting on the guy for sanitizing his hands. That was a nervous twitch, in my opinion.
Well, you know who he was. He was the only guy that actually had any active shooter experience, and he was awarded something in the previous one because he one-on-one took on an active shooter in a previous situation. He was kind of a badass.
I didn't know that.
So fun fact about him, he was that day, I think he did have a firearm on him, but he showed up because after the fact, and he was triage.
Oh, okay, so he was going to come in.
So he was cleaning
sanitizing.
He was sanitizing. Oh. I'm not going to lie. I talk shit too. The first time I'm like,
what the fuck's this guy doing?
This fucking guy's he's worried about COVID. Yeah. Turns out that was right when the shooting was like when they were actually exchanging gunfire, and he was prepared to go in that room not knowing what he was about to see. Yeah. And we see, and I made the mistake, we see this 30-second clip of a guy, and we think that this speaks for the event and this human being that, again, has stepped up in the line of duty and been the one-on-one. And then and I had people argue with me, I don't care if that was his job that day. Any real man should have grabbed their gun and gone in that room. I'm like,
you don't.
You would have created absolute fucking chaos if that was, everybody, let's just, and it's an unfortunate thing because I do think Ariando screwed up, but this is, and as much as I don't like kind of the way he presented everything himself and the situation and how he failed, this is the guy that's never been in control of more than 4 or 5 police officers at a time. And all of a sudden he had 400 there.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I was going to bring up is like, I am fortunate. I work in a city that a robbery happens every day. And that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
It happens every day, multiple times a day.
It's happened 13 times since we've been on this show.
Yeah. Like shootings every day. Like this shit happens constantly where I am at. My guys that I work with and girls, love my ladies. We see this shit so often. Now we're talking a population of 1.2 million ish, give or take. What's Uvalde?
I mean, 15,000 for the whole place, and the amount of crime they actually have is minimal at best. Yeah.
So you get once a year, let's say you get active shooter training. How often are you practicing that? Never.
You're not.
You're not.
Yeah.
How are you? There's this whole desensitization phase. That's a whiskey. I can't get it out. You don't become callous. I don't want to say callous. You don't develop that experience level because the worst thing you're really facing in a population of 15,000, let's face it, is,
domestic disputes.
Domestic. Margaret left her fucking trash can on my side of the driveway. That's it. Yeah. No, and it's not a knock on Uvalde. That's just what it is. It is what it is. That's the city. How many calls are they getting in a year? That's one of the things you could look at. And when you break it down that way and you get pissed off because, you guys just had active shooter training. Like, you don't understand.
What was the actual budget line item? I think it was like $8,000 for all of their training for the year.
Right.
Like that includes active shooter, that includes new I mean, they don't.
Yeah. And smaller departments actually, if they have a grant person that's on top of their game, like, they get some really good training and keep the budget really low. So you got these guys running in or trying to handle a situation that they just. I don't care what training you've had. If you're not exposed to the worst of the worst all the time, it clouds things.
Right.
And when it comes to real-time fog of war decisions, because that's what that is, they're not ready. And now you've got interagencies.
Now you got no idea how to communicate. It's like, let's bring the Packers to play with the Cowboys. You guys are all right. You guys are on the same team. Let's see what happens. There are so many things. And again, everybody jumps to the conclusion that they're mad that kids they didn't do their job. And we see this, they released the hour footage, which I think was cruel to the parents. And it leads people to the emotional response that more could have been done. Yeah. Of course. More. Sure. You can't play armchair.
Hindsight's a motherfucker.
And that's funny because I do a lot of my shows in Stephenville. When I do stuff, I do it from the university, their library. And we all forget this. Yes, the door may have been open. We'll never know. Matter because they unlocked it. So to anybody going, we'll find out. We're gonna find out. No, you'll never find out because they unlocked it. So you don't know if it was unlocked or not. So say it was locked. We forget how steel reinforced those doors are. You're not going to kick and they're also made to only open out, in. I can't remember.
Probably
out.
I would say out.
Yeah, they're only made to open out, which means they're only made to open out for the specific.
If you're going to kick it, you're going to have to kick it in half.
Right, and when I talked to Tatum, he explained with the steel reinforcement in the door, they in a place like Dallas or wherever, you're going to have the ballistics to do. It's like a flashbang type system to break it. In Uvalde, it took them 40 minutes to get something to do that. And people are like, why didn't they ram the door? It could not happen. Yeah. They could have opened it. If it was unlocked, they could have opened it, but you don't know that and you're getting fired at. And people talk about, and Jared and I disagreed a little bit about on the window. The window, there's blinds. Why didn't they bust in the window?
I didn't know.
So the blinds were covered.
Okay.
So you can't see what's going on there. So again, everybody's like, but there was one shooter. There was this. Can you imagine? Yeah. If a police officer busts a window and more shots are fired and somehow he shoots and kills a kid?
Yeah. It's a no-win.
It's a no-win situation.
It doesn't matter which way you go.
No.
And it is what it is. Yeah. We can't change it now. The beautiful thing about tragedies is learning from them and trying to prevent. I mean, we learned a lot from Columbine. One of the things we learned was get the fuck in there. You can't set up a perimeter, wait for SWAT to get there, and then go handle. Because that was the standard before then. Like, and now active shooter training is like, dude, you may be in your underwear and happen to be driving by, and then the active shooter starts. So, well, guess what? You're the guy that goes in.
Got to do it.
Got to do it. hopefully you got a gun. No, you gotta have a gun. But
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Otherwise, you're in deep shit.
Yeah, but that's how that shit goes. So, yeah, but in the Uvalde thing, you wanted to bring up video games and shooting.
So top shooter and Uvalde, and we talked about this on the show quite a bit. And I also forgot one of the reasons I'm a big police supporter also. And even growing up, my aunt, her husband was a police officer. That's kind of how it started. And then
okay.
And I never met him. He was moonlighting, working for the school. He was working for the schools back in Jersey at the time, and there was a faulty railroad crossing, and he ended up getting killed by a train.
Oh,
so it's
shit.
technically considered serving in the line of duty because he was working that event. He was on his way home. So I've always I always like to remember that these are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what mistakes they make. So I'm the unfortunate one where people will yell at me. It's like, you think cops can't do wrong? I'm like, I've reported cops before, but I do give them, I will give them the benefit of the doubt ahead of the civilian, unfortunately, to start.
Let me address something while you're bringing that up. For all the people that they get pissed off because they don't think cops get held accountable. At my place of employment alone, and guess if you're a first-time listener, I don't mention where I work. This has to be separate. But we have already had probably 4 or 5 people that have been charged and fired from our department for wrongdoing, keeping our people in check. You don't hear about that. Why?
No.
Because it ain't fucking sexy. It's cops doing what they're supposed to do.
And why would you? It's not do you hear of every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Carol to get fired from their job?
Right. It's not if it bleeds, it leads. They don't give a shit. Nobody cares about us holding another cop accountable because we do it constantly. And they don't get that. And so, I shouldn't say they don't get that. They don't see that. And that's one of the issues that I have today is like me personally, I will text. I have a couple family members back home. They're like, oh, cops are never held accountable. And every time within my own agency that something happens, I'm like, check this out. Check this out. And like, well, your department's good, but, and I'm like, no.
I like to think that most are still pretty decent, especially now that I've gotten to talk to more cops. A lot of them are accountable, started holding their people accountable. The thin blue line is getting thinner and thinner, which honestly, I think there is some reason for the thin blue line. There's occasions where shit went awry. It's middle of the night. Like, you have to be a little bit careful. You're doing the best you can. Think about somebody that's whole livelihood in life is based off of a mistake because it's dark and somebody is breaking the law already. Yeah. And they have to do the best they can to piece it together.
So let me give you an example, and I've done this several times on my podcast, but maybe it'll give you some insight when you do some other podcasts with cops. The thin blue line, to me, it's not where the line between evil and good. I don't like it. It's very polarizing. It's us versus them. It doesn't resonate well with me. I don't like that message. What it is to me is if I was Joe Blow citizen that worked at a cubicle somewhere, think office space, whatever you want to think. Yeah. And somebody dies from where I work, we're going to have a luncheon, if I'm a good friend to him at work, maybe I'll stay in contact with the wife for about a year or whatever it takes. And, maybe 2-3 years down the road, it fades away. Yeah. Okay. And that's a best case
I think
scenario.
You're being generous.
I'm being very generous. But when it comes to the thin blue line, and it doesn't stop with police, it's firefighters, it's first responders in general. Yeah. If I go down, my 2 daughters, they're going to have at minimum 3 to 5 dudes lined up to make sure when they go to prom, somebody's here to show them to keep boyfriend in check. Yeah. When they get married, they're going to be given away by 5-6 different dudes, or girls. I hate to be exclusive on that, but that is the thin blue line for the rest of their lives. My memory is going to be there for them. It's not for me. I don't give a shit. I'll be gone, whatever. But it's about them. It's the survivors and my wife, and they're going to be taken care of. Everything they need. Shit, should probably marry one of my friends. Who knows? It's a typical cop thing. I don't give a shit. I'll be gone. I just want to be taken care of.
It's a military thing too.
It is a military thing. Yeah. and all my people, they're probably laughing like, Levine, shut the fuck up. And so, but they're taken care of for life. Right. That is the thin blue line. That is the difference. Like that.
And that's how I understand it.
That's the way I look at it.
There's people that look at it as the thin blue line of secrecy, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily bullshit either. I think that's there. I do think that okay. So I'll give you.
Oh no, I know it's there. I'm saying I think it's a bullshit explanation that's what the blue line only means.
Right. And one of the things that I think you can use for your show in the future is like this is another portion of it is, where is that us versus them higher? It's typically in cities where they don't support their police. Mm-hmm. When you don't support your cops, one of the things that you start to create is a more of us versus them. Police are going to be less and less likely to hold each other accountable for not necessarily breaking the law, but policy issues or things of that nature. And then when that slope starts to go, it's a slippery slope.
Right.
And then what shit's being covered up? Because at the end of the day, your lives depend on each other in the worst case scenarios. So that's what you're going to get. And places like Chicago, I really worry about that.
I know police officers up
right.
there.
Look what happened in New Orleans. We're talking late 80s, early 90s. You know, they had cops that were working with the gangs. But why? They weren't supported. They weren't getting paid. There's all these different factors. So right, wrong, indifferent, like these are things you have to be cognizant about to avoid them from happening. It's happened. Right. Don't let history repeat itself.
Exactly.
Versus like a place where I come from where the citizens where I'm at, this is very interesting to me anyway. They vote every 4 or 5 years for this this fund, okay? And the fund is a 50-cent tax that goes directly to police. Mm-hmm. So no matter what tax, a 50 cent of whatever comes in through the city goes to us. We make $24 or $36 million, somewhere in between that. Goes to our patrol cars, goes to all that. Citizens vote every 4 or 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. So they vote in the percentages like in the 80, 90 percentile. Mm-hmm. What is that? That's a thermometer. That tells us we're doing the right thing. We are doing what they want us to do. If that vote dips down into the 50s and the 60s, we're fucking up. We got to communicate. We have to talk. How do we fix this? What are we doing wrong? Why is our vote getting that low? Because we need that money anyway, and we do a better job when we have that money and we know we're supported. The morale boost, the everything. Like cops will hold cops more accountable because of that.
Of course,
because they want to. The citizens are supporting you. Like, I don't want to become what Chicago is.
Right.
Fuck that.
I have a question I don't know the answer, but I just know, and I don't know if you're even allowed to talk about it. In Dallas, obviously, from a onlooker perspective, Police Chief Brown was very well respected by the civilians. I've heard very different from police officers.
The guy that made the decision.
Is it Brown? Yeah, Brown.
Yeah. So my understanding is he was not well received.
I know that's what I've gotten to, and I heard, and remember now he's in charge of Chicago, which that city has gone to complete shit.
Yes,
not maybe because of him, but he's lost respect of his police officers and all that. So why was he? I mean, he in the media in Dallas, he was a hero.
Yeah, well, that decision making was unprecedented. What he did, the whole cell phone bomb thing with the drone or not drone, the robot. Yeah, like that stuff. Cops have always joked about their whole lives. Like that is like we're just sending a fucking bot with a bomb. You know, like that's how you end that type of situation. And then here we go. It fucking happens in real life, and even cops that probably just did not like him that worked for him. We're like, all right, he's an asshole, but respect. Like that was legit. Like that's what needed to happen.
Got it.
And when you start to break down that case and actually hear what this guy was like, that guy was not going to come out like without killing more cops. Yeah. He wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. Yeah. So he really didn't have a choice. Like that was the only way to end that. And that guy made that very clear. He made the decision for himself. Yeah.
So I lived across from the police station. I was right on Bellevue. In Dallas. So
that's insane.
Everybody's like, go inside. And I'm like, I'm on my legal property and I had a camera just in case shit went down. Cause they originally thought that he was coming back to the police station, I think the next morning before they got him. Okay. So it's like, there was bomb teams and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. My whole building was not allowed to leave. They're all on alert there or whatever. And I'm just standing outside. Yeah.
So I can't, like, obviously I didn't work for the guy. I can't speak on it, but I do know that the tone, just like you said, from what I know from other Dallas officers, was like, they didn't like him. He was not well supported by his police.
So they supported him on that event, but not necessarily as a police chief. They thought he was a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And it you know, that's common. That happens. You know, you're not always going to support. My big thing is, like, I don't care, just like the president. I don't have to care for who's in office. Yeah. But I sure as fuck ain't going to wish that he fails.
Right.
Like,
no, don't wish that for him. Yeah.
I hate that. I just got in a debate. I very rarely let myself get drawn into an online debate.
Yeah.
That's where I really listen to Rogan on that shit. Like, why do you know, what does he say? Post and ghost. Yeah. Like,
smart.
Yeah. It's a smart strategy, but somebody had said something, and I was just like, let it go, Levine. Let it go. Let it go. Well, I just put this little tidbit in there. Maybe it'll change his mind. And then I put something in there, and it didn't fucking work, and we got into it, and I'm just like, dude, like, I don't want to.
There's a power in engaging once in a while, though.
There is,
because you learn more from people that disagree with you than the people that agree with you, just on knowing the psyche. Just like. You know, as a police officer, you're going to learn more about criminals from other criminals. So it's actually, you know, especially in the podcasting world or like spreading of information world, sometimes, as long as you don't let it get to you, it's good to have the disagreements and the arguments.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And like we were talking about earlier, trying to get people from the opposite side. For you would be the extreme lefts. And for me, it's just people that are on the other side of the criminal justice system. Yeah. Community, like, you've probably gotten this way worse than I ever have. I just recently got my first real trolls, and they were Black Panther Party. So I was like, I see the shit, you know, F12, fuck pigs, died, and all, they're saying that shit.
ACAP.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I was late in the game. Like, I was at work, so I didn't see any of this shit. And then I get on, I'm checking the social media posts, and I see, you know, the majority of my people are cops anyway, and they just just talking shit to all of them. And I'm like, they're like, you need to kick these, like, block these guys. That's not me. I'm not blocking anybody. Yeah. Like, unless you're on there trying to get people physically hurt. Right. I'm not blocking you. Like, I got on there and I was like, hey, I would love for you to be on the show. Like, that, and it's genuine. I would love for that. Like, obviously the cops did you wrong somewhere. Let's talk about it. How, if we could ever fix the problem, like, now's the time, because these are the people. 90% of the people on my audience are exactly who you need to address. So let's get you on. Well, what I learned was that's how you silence them. I'm not trying to silence them.
Oh, you invite them on.
But I invited them on. I don't think they expected that, because they just stopped. Yeah. They just, abruptly just quit. They didn't even try anymore.
I wish. We have some trolls that just keep going.
And I actually sent more messages. I was like, hey, I'm not being, like, please watch my shows. I'm not a disingenuous person. I really mean it. Like, I would love for you to be on. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And then nothing.
I've got an Antifa guy that wants to do a digital, and I'm excited. He's not a troll, though.
Okay.
It's like the trolls, you're right, they probably go away. I've got one that's like a weird stalker that used to work for me back when I had my staffing agency. His name's Shane.
Throwing him out there.
I'd love to put his whole name. But the thing is, nobody would know. He's now on his 9th Facebook account. Every about 3 to 4 months, he pops up. It started out with, like, harassment. What happened was he used to work for me, good independent contractor. And then he was a straight guy, and then he was a gay guy, and then he got raped by other male employees, not working for me, but while he was with another company.
Holy shit.
And I guess he started communicating with me right when I started Be the Change. No, before then. It was when I was identity marketing. And he was like, you're well known in the industry. Everybody respects you. I need your help. I was like, you're already a little odd. About a year ago, there was a complaint made about him with another guy. What do you need? He explained it to me. And he's like, I need you to, if you think that you have the power or whatever, you need to speak up. And I was like, I can't corroborate your story. I don't know those people, and I can't help. Like, I don't know what to say. Yeah. And he jumped into that night, that conversation back and forth on Facebook Messenger finally he said, it's like, I hope I had a newborn. Like my daughter was like a year. He's like, I hope your daughter gets raped the way I was. I was like, this conversation's over.
Oh man.
We're done. We're done talking.
Yeah.
And then every 6 months it pops up. It started out with, you are XYZ bad dude. And then it was just very basic. And then it went from, you take advantage of your staff. I'm like, okay. And then it was, you've raped your staff. I'm like, oh God. Now the latest one about 4 or 5 months ago, where he was also physically, like, he lives in Chicago. He was saying that I needed to have a gun held to my head, which is like, you're pushing the envelope now, buddy. He's like, I hope you go into a public event and you get shot, which I'm like, he's already got a record. He's got a whole thing called Diary of a Felon because he slipped out of the cracks. So he's a little sketchy, a little scary there. But now his biggest thing that he'll pop on to conversations, events that I'm about to like speak at or something like that, and be like, I hope you know you're hiring a child sex trafficker. He's a pedophile. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck?
Oh, this is so frustrating.
Jesus, dude.
So that's a bad one. So that's my stalker. And then there's the trolls that pop in all the time.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Gully. What does he go by? Grant Gully or something. It's not his real name. It's his like YouTube name.
His alias.
Yeah. Yeah. And no
Look
matter,
at you.
and we invite the crap out of them,
Yeah.
and they don't stop talking.
No shit. Huh. Well, that's what happens when you're big time. I'm not big time.
I'm
so.
far from big time. Back to that, so I can
Yes.
remember. So we've had the conversation with regarding. So like you saw the top. Did you know what happened at the top shooting? Obviously, in wherever, New York, Buffalo, New York, right? Top's grocery store shooting.
Oh yeah.
Did you get the chance to see the footage before it got taken down?
Unfortunately, yeah.
To me, that looked like a first-person shooter game.
Oh, for sure.
There was even a moment in it where it looked like he went off screen and like, you know how you reload on a lot of those games? Yeah. And it started the conversation, and he handled his firearm far better than the kid in Uvalde. The kid in Uvalde, or the guy in Uvalde, look, he didn't know what he was doing, but he just, you get in a closed room, it's not pleasant no matter how you do it.
Yeah.
The other guy knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Known video game player. Do you think, because of all the first-person video games, and I, as somebody that is more of a libertarian, I don't want to put my hands in the pot, do you think video games in kids that are already very mentally ill are something that's a problem?
I don't know that the video games itself are a problem. Do I think it's a possible tool to enhance a skill set that you don't want them to have? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
We use them as a military. We use them as police. We play video games in a sense to train.
It helps you train, and it also desensitizes a bit so that when you're in that situation, it doesn't feel out of the normal, right?
I can't speak on that. My argument would be I've played violent video games my whole life. It doesn't mean that when I get into it with somebody on the streets, that it doesn't, like, I'm like numb to it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm still very much. I mean, I've had guys that, specifically one dude I had to tase, as he's, we got in a foot chase, and I get him and I go to tase him, and he just decides to zigzag to the left, and that was the bad way to go, because now he's over cement versus being on grass, and tase him, and he ends up landing on his face and knocking himself unconscious, fracturing his face. I mean, it was bad for him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, I'm like, oh fuck, like, I felt genuinely bad, like, but he made that decision.
Yeah.
He put me in that position. I didn't make that. But as much as I've played war games, as much as I've played video games growing up that were violent in nature, Mortal Kombat and all these different things, CSGO is another one that I play. Like, I wouldn't say it desensitized me in a sense of like not feeling, I don't want to say remorse, but I felt compassion for him.
Of course.
I felt.
But you're a rational adult.
Yes, and I'm an adult. But I was a kid that played those things into adulthood. I am in a weird window. Do I think it's possible on the extreme level for somebody that already has mental issues?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think the games are different. Like, I grew up with Mortal Kombat as well.
They're absolutely different.
The games now are so fucking realistic.
Absolutely.
And I think I think it's different, and I agree with you. Like, if you're a normal, rational human being, like, it's the same thing that I have issues with certain drugs. Like, I'm not on the school that thinks that marijuana should be legalized. I'm not. I think it should be decriminalized and used for medicinal purposes. I think there's some great stuff that can be used with cannabis, but I don't think every individual is responsible enough with drugs. Same concept with video games. Unfortunately, I feel like there's people that are just mentally ill that this hyper accelerates it. People keep saying, what's the difference? Because we have a crime problem, period. But there is a school shooting uptick. Can't say that it's not. I don't think that there's this massive issue in this country. I mean, if the worst case you put together all the deaths, it still doesn't equal a month in Chicago.
And let me hit one point before you keep going.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I think that is because we fucking put these people on a platform. That's a problem.
Truth.
Social media, whatever you want to call it. We put their names out there. We put their whole family out there. We talk about where they grew up, where the school. Follow some of the suits that the other countries do. They don't say who they are. They don't give them the dignity.
Use the words.
They don't even use their name. They're like, all they talk about is the victims, the families, and that's it. I think so, if we did that, I think that would lower.
Because it demonizes the kid, the person, to us, but to the sick people, it makes them idolize them.
Right.
So you mix everything together. To me, you combine the video games mixed with we're disassociative in terms of parenting. We don't there's a moral decline. You can't say that there's not. I mean, God, look at Roanoke a couple days ago and the dancers and the kids. Like, you can't look that there's just a difference. So you combine the video games with mental illness, hyper inflate it with COVID and lockdowns on kids and not being engaged. Yep.
It's another.
Absolutely.
Social.
And I think then you take it to the next level, which is a desensitization with the video games. And I never thought, as just about to turn 40,
somebody that grew up playing Ninja Turtles, you were like,
I never thought there'd be a day where I'd be like, these video games are a problem. But again, I think it's different. I mean, they're so fucking realistic.
Yeah. I think at the extreme levels, and then most of the time when we have something really bad happen, that's part of it. And like you said, when we watch the Buffalo thing, I'm with you. I agree. I feel like that was treated almost identical to a video game. But we're talking about the most extreme examples. Do I want to blame a video game for that? No, because let's say he never played a video game in his life. I think I still would have got the same type of guy? Yeah. There's a lot of other factors that went behind that.
Do you think that, like, I'm a believer in more parental punishments? There was the kid that, I can't remember, it happened about 6-8 months, maybe even a year ago, where the parents gave the kid, it was one of the last school shooters before these, gave the kid the gun as his present at the age of 16, even though he was a recluse. I was a big supporter that the parent should have been punished on that one. And I know that that's a dicey subject. And likewise with video games, it's kind of like, in a case like this, let's put some responsibility on the parents. Granted, this kid was, 19, Uvalde, so it really doesn't count anymore. But I do think if there's a shooter under the age of 18, you can blame the parents. You can't punish the parents legally unless there was a definite sign of they were
gross negligence.
Like giving the kid the gun the way that they did, that other family did it. In some cases, like, you know what, let's make these video games NC-17 or 18. And if the parent's responsible, then they would think twice about buying their kids some of these, first person shooter games. I
will say, in police work, I have seen parents that were completely blindsided, and we've shown them their social media, like, this is your child. And you see the genuine reaction, like, I don't recognize this fucking kid. Yeah. Like, I had a mother say that. I don't recognize this fucking child. And, like, what do you do?
And I agree.
That's one of those things. And you don't know. You have to take each case on a case-by-case basis. Yes, if you got a gun and you start putting factors together. You knew he was a recluse. You knew he had social issues. You knew he had this. You knew he had that. And then you get other factors like what I'm talking about. I show this mother her child holding a gun on social media trying to make his own fucking rap video. Yeah. And he's growing up in suburbia. And you know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, he's getting busted at school with a bunch of dope in his locker and she can't figure out why. Well, when you look at all the family photos and everything, like, this kid's got the perfect family. Yeah. And then And as far as his good academic record, he's not.
Right.
There's no signs or symptoms. So, is there a cookie cutter way? No.
No, and
it's a very case by case basis.
I think it's got to be super fucking direct. Like,
yeah.
Like you said, there's a lot of parents, and I don't think it's negligence to. I mean, kids are good at hiding things. We all were pretty decent at hiding things.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't know. But when it's blatant, and if there's rules, so blatant is like give your kid the gun when you probably shouldn't, and they're 15, 16 years old, whatever it is. Like, that's blatant. But then if there's a rule put in place, like enforcing that NC-17 for video games and being like, as a parent, you are signing some of your rights away. And if your child breaks the law, then you are, you're not guilty of murder, but there is maybe a punishment to the parents. I think that would change a lot. It would either make the parent not buy the video game, which I think sucks because I think we should have freedom of a society, but it would make the parent go, I got to work in overdrive and go back to being a parent again.
Well, the other way to kind of look at that, let me play devil's advocate, is some of the things that we've seen is this is an outlet for kids that have issues.
That's a good point.
You're like, all right, if I don't give them this outlet, what the fuck's going to happen next?
That's tough.
It's a good point. Like that's one of the things I think
I couldn't shoot up my buddy on SOCOM 37. I might as well just go to the. I get it. That's another.
So like while you're trying to get this dude help and you're trying to fix some issues maybe, and then you're like, you don't get to play these violent video games, and he's like, you won't let me go shoot squirrels. You won't let me play this game. Like, fuck it.
That's a valid point. I've had this conversation a lot. I haven't had that argument yet. That's good. That's
I got that
one.
from Dexter. So you're welcome.
Wow, he's a serial killer. Yes. So it's an interesting point.
Yeah, it's a weird perspective. But I mean,
it makes sense though too, because sometimes you need an outlet. So some people could become more hypersensitive and go the other way and say, "This makes me want to do it," and I'm stone cold about it. And then the other person is, "This is the only way I don't do it."
Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I know, right?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
See, I'm not that bad.
No,
right?
that's good.
It's pretty good, right?
That's good.
Deep. Yeah.
You are a thinker.
And that's my third glass of whiskey,
bro. I'm literally just like,
I know you're nursing over there.
I'm thinking about how I'm not going to pee my pants. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can pause. You can go pee, whatever you want. But yeah. So, all right, sir. We've addressed video games. Now, what I want to get into is, what is the goals now of your podcast? What do you see in the future? What are the problems you see so far with your pod? Like as far as addressing the significant topics that you want to address and all that stuff.
So, I mean, I my passion is very between police and between medical misinformation a lot. So those are my two big topics. I kind of like to grow it that direction.
And just so you know, I'm like quadruple vaccinated because I'm military and I have to.
No, and I can smell it on you.
Yeah,
Smell the.
You could smell the Fauci on me.
It smells like myocarditis in here. It's super weird. And I just think it's such a bullshit disjustice that's been done to force people to do stuff. So the goal with the podcast really is to be able to, and it's funny. I mean, it's blunt force discussion also is BFD. Big fucking deal.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the hat.
Yeah, I would hook you up with one. I didn't think about when you come on the show. I'll give you one.
Do you have like a OCP camouflage?
BFD. Yeah, I've got the camo one.
Oh, do you?
Jared got the camo one.
Oh no shit! I just made that. Like I was thinking, because it's like very military term. We say it a lot.
BFD.
Yeah. So when I was thinking, like, this is we call this the God, I'm blanking because I'm a little drunk. This is the old school camouflage. Yeah. Now the new one's called OCP. Like that's the new camouflage, and so that's
more. The OCP is more digital.
No. So we went from digital to OCP. OCP is kind of we reverted back to
So it's more like that. Mine's more like that. It's
a little I'll show you when we get done. I have actually right here. Let me take my headphones off.
Let me see.
Right there.
Let's see. Who makes it?
That's literally one of my military hats. That's the pattern.
I like this brand.
Yeah, that's Nine Line. Nine Line is my absolute favorite hat brand.
Got to be careful about talking about Nine Line right now.
Nine Line? What do you mean?
Well, what happened with the shooting?
What happened?
The people that worked for them? Not about it. Nine Line's a great brand. You didn't hear about the woman that...
No.
Oh, God.
I didn't tell you. I'm not a big news guy.
It wasn't big news. It was kind of like... conservative influencer, I guess, level. They talked about it. So one of the women that worked with Nine Line The guy was also working at 9 Line. They were dating for a bit or something. She didn't want any part of him anymore. And she disappeared, and he ended up killing her in a parking lot.
Oh, no shit.
This happened like 2 months ago.
No.
Yeah. So
I'm
9
wearing,
Line.
I'm wearing a 9 Line Benghazi shirt.
Well, it's a great. I mean, and by the way, so Benghazi is an interesting thing, and we'll go back. What do I have to remind me? What were we going back to?
Where you see the podcast the future, and the strifes and all that good stuff. Yeah.
So Benghazi, though, the whole Chris Parantos from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes.
So I got to meet him one time, and I knew somebody that was his assistant for a period of time, and he was such a good dude, man. And we talked for maybe 15 minutes, and because I was working the College World Series, and we were talking about how we knew a mutual friend, and it might have even been less than 15, and his dad was like signing a book, all these different things, and people are always like, no matter what, I couldn't have voted for Hillary because I got
Benghazi.
Yeah, I got just enough details on that event on how criminal what she did was. You could think whatever you want about Trump's background, whatever, and you know what? There's plenty of reasons why people can say I could never vote for Trump, but you can't judge my vote in 2016 because I actually have a personal knowledge of some of the bullshit she did that makes me go, I would either vote for no one or I cannot vote for her. Period. Right. So Benghazi is an interesting backstory. And Paranto's a badass. He's also tiny.
I've got Wymie from Act of Valor.
Yeah,
he's in my next podcast.
Nice.
So I think not tomorrow, but the next day. Okay. So he's got his own brand of knives, Wymie Cutlery, and but somebody through another podcast I had done knows him. We're friends, got me hooked up.
That's awesome.
And he felt me out. He called me, and I was like, "Hey, this is what I do." And he's like, "Oh, okay, you're good. Yeah, everybody, there's people like that. They got to do their background."
And I wouldn't say Paranto's small. It's just you expect these guys to be like larger than life. But a lot of special ops guys are not that big. So he's
usually
like 5'10",
140, 180 pounds in between there. They're not gigantic. You can't be.
No, you got to fit in small places.
Yeah, so that's. Honey, just remember that.
Yeah.
Some of the best got to fit in small places.
It's not about the size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the podcast, so the idea would be so that, because I just love this. Actually, this is going to sound funny. My goal is to do this, what you and I are doing right now with people that where I can just set up a show and do it and not give a baker's F about how big their following is. But the BFD brand is the idea of using I would like to be a big F and deal maker, if that makes sense. Like to be able to share my audience with people that have a great story. In the meantime, I'm going to try to piggyback with people with decent size followings that are BFDs to help grow the following. But the idea is to have great conversation, to have open-minded conversation, build it as a brand with the Great American Syndicate crew, where we have the overriding thing, like the way we look at it. Great American Syndicate. Barb is a Gold Star wife.
Really?
Yeah,
that's big.
She's been on Brad Lee. She's gonna actually be on Chad Prather in a couple weeks, but she's about to get remarried. This has happened 2005-ish, I believe. Really fascinating story because he didn't die at the hands of the enemy. He died at the hands of the U.S. military. He was killed by another soldier. She's had many books and things written about what happened to her, but it was pretty crooked. Essentially, the dude was making money off of some of the sale of shit to the enemy or to whatever the locals were at the time. And her husband kind of came in like shift change, he
caught it
like shift change, meaning like a new set of people came in and it caught what was going on. And then they blew him and multiple people up. And I think 2 people died. I can't remember the exact number, but her story is very fascinating and she loves this country and her fiance is a great dude. And we're looking at like what encompasses it all. Great American Syndicate. That's a brand. And then we've got clothing on one side, and then we've got all of our podcasts. Hers is called Flex Your Freedom. I've got Blunt Force Discussion, Truth Will Set You Free, and we'll just combine it all so that we do have kind of a Blaze type setup.
No
you know what
shit.
I mean? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Where do you blast your stuff? YouTube?
Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout?
Yeah.
So
I use YouTube and Buzzsprout.
So Buzzsprout goes to like Spotify and all that stuff.
Spotify, Apple. Yeah.
Okay.
Like basically all the major ones.
Yeah.
Amazon, all that, and then stuff I never heard of.
Okay.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk. I mean, because honestly, it's like more content, and you keep putting it on your channels. Might as well also throw it up on ours. So I got. I put it up on. Yeah, why not? Like the more good patriotic content, and not that it's just patriotic, but information based.
Yeah. And, you can't. I mean, and this ain't to float my own boat. You really can't go wrong. I'm not I'm not polarizing by any means.
No.
And all I'm trying to do is just fucking be cool. Be like, help people.
Yeah.
Like, just create a educational dialogue. That's really all
Absolutely.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
So-
and that's I like some of the politics are a little further than we go, like than we want to go with Great American Syndicate, which is why it's nice to have the Truth Will Set You Free side as the media.
This is the most political my show's ever been.
Really?
And I've had Chad Prather on.
Really?
Yeah.
It's, when you said that earlier, like not a political show, I'm like, how did you have Chad? What did you guys talk
Dude,
about?
oh my God. I learned so much about
He's
Chad.
also brilliant.
Did you know Chad, before he got into comedy and all that stuff, he was a medical guy?
Medical sales rep.
No.
No?
Helping, literally. He started off knowing how to like veterinary work, like helping horses and all that shit.
I knew the horse side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he traveled the world by taking that medical knowledge, and, you know, the standards are a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
And he helped medical professionals in other countries.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But with humans.
You know, he's got like 7 degrees too.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
No, I
dude.
told him when he was on the show, he's like, you sound stupid as hell, but you're a smart dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth.
It's the truth. And I said, that's the thing that sucks about having a Southern draw. And
It's true.
So, yeah, but it's true.
So I
mean,
have the don't get the shot seat. At the time, I think it was just shot seat with the bond breaker. And I asked him the question. One of the things I had to my girlfriend was like, maybe you should know a little bit more details before you ask this. Because I'm a big Steven Crowder fan too. I think Crowder's hilarious.
Crowder's funny.
So I said, who's funnier between you and Steven Crowder to Chad? And Chad was typical Prather, answered it very smooth. But apparently they don't really like get along fully.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. And,
Okay, I didn't
and
know
I think
that.
Crowder's got a little bit more financial backing behind his show.
Oh,
Probably from the
fucking
place-
for
I mean,
sure.
That show's got like 80 producers and all this
Yeah.
stuff. It's a great show.
Yeah.
Chad's show is, I mean, it's just him.
Yeah.
And he does it all on his own.
Yeah.
And honestly, part of Crowder is really
I
talented.
think that's why he did my show. He sees a lot of what I'm doing and
Yeah.
what he's done.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. And he's always been very complimentary to me. And he'll also off the cuff talk about, you know, this is why this person I don't think will work out. I think if he gives a stamp of approval, I think he's a good gauge on good people and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's funny he didn't talk much about politics, but he's a brilliant dude.
No, he would try, and I would deflect him, and he would call me out for deflecting. Okay, I see. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, man, that's, you know, the point is. But with like what you and I talked about, like I can see the police direction in most of the stuff. You know, we're talking about what happened on January 6th, and so
There's police.
And so I'm trying to like see, okay, yeah, and through that though, like also if you are a more let's say liberal or right wing style mindset, like let's discuss that. Let me see where you're at, and then I can start to inflect some of the police side of things on that, because as police, your politics don't matter.
Right.
All my judgment is based on the law and you know, my discretion.
Do you, like my big thing that I talk about a lot now is the reason why I think politics are important in policing is because if we don't start changing the narrative of how police are looked at, and obviously we're short on police in Dallas, they're ridiculously short on police in Chicago. I know police officers there that are working 20 plus days in a row. The only people who the hell wants to be a police officer?
Nobody.
The people that there's two kinds. One that are not equipped. They're not strong enough to be a police officer. And two, the person that is, fuck this shit. I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna. And you don't want them as police officers.
Right.
So if people want to hold officers accountable, I get it. There's mistakes made all the time, and there's mistakes that are preventable and they need to be punished. But if you continue pushing this, not defund the police, take that verbiage away, but just being hateful and being shitty, you are asking for more unarmed shootings. You're asking for more problems because you're building up the person that's getting arrested to think that they're going to get shot when most likely 1 out of 1 million, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Here's the way I look at it. Think of athletes. Okay. We want athletes. We, as a nation, we are a sports oriented. We want the best athletes, right? And we support them. And there's some shitty athletes, and we're like, you know, like Ron Artest or Meta World Peace, whatever the fuck you want to call them. You know, you get your outliers, just like police work.
Right.
But you're like, you know, fuck that guy, but we still support majorly. And how do we support? We buy merch, we go to shows, we go all that shit, right? Now think of that in police world. You get one cop that does something fucked up. Now what do? We brand them all as fucked up.
Right.
Now imagine if you flipped the script and you said, I want you to treat your cops like you treat your athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that one bad cop. We all went after his ass. But we support these guys because they're out there, you know, putting the show on.
Right.
And body cams support that.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big push by the NAACP and all that stuff is like, we want to hold cops accountable. Well, the narrative isn't showing what they thought it would. Cops are doing what they're supposed to do 99.9% of the time.
So now they have to alter it in a weird way.
So you've got this support based on the body camera stuff and all that. But why isn't that narrative being pushed? Why isn't that good stuff being put out there?
They find a way to critique the video footage and be like, you can't tell that the other guy was reaching for his gun. Well, how do you know that he wasn't? Like, this is still a human. So the comparison, so you say athletes compared to police, right? The thing is, I've given that exact same argument to the opposite side, and they'll say to me like, well, why is it that you're just branding all black people like criminals?
Right.
No, I'm not. What you're actually standing up for when you say that is you are branding. You're essentially saying treat all criminals like all other criminals. It's such a, and I don't know how to properly phrase it, but no, I'm not referring to a different race as all criminals. I'm not the same way that you say there's a bad police officer and there just so happens to be a bad black guy that's a criminal. I'm just grouping all the criminals together, whatever color they are. Criminal behavior. Yeah. I'm sorry, a criminal has, and I know this is actually against the Constitution, has less, to me, once you've started to break the law, your rights go down exponentially.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But, I mean, you're putting yourself at risk is what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, unfortunately, things can happen. And yeah, a police officer is going to be punished for making a mistake, which I think sucks. How about let's again hold the police at a higher esteem to start than the person that starts to break the law, and then we let the justice system work itself out. But once the criminal starts to act in a aggressive manner, they've lost their rights.
Yeah.
Personal opinion. And I know that, I know as a cop, you probably can't even fully say that, but as a civilian from the outside looking in, from a macro perspective, until we start recognizing criminals as criminals and going back to that, it's going to keep making things worse.
Yeah. And I'm all for keeping cops in check. I'm a big fan. Like that's part of why I do what I do. I want people to understand that I'm trying to keep cops in check all the time. But when we're talking about it's hard to hire cops, you want the cream of the crop. Your standards for what you want as from a police officer are unrealistic. Right. Because the way that you're treating police, you're not going to get that cream of the crop.
You're not.
So what you are going to get is you're going to lower the standards. You're going to lower the standards of hiring because right now, what's hard? It's hard to get anybody to want to do the job, right? So what naturally happens? Oh, shit, we need bodies. Like, fuck getting the cream of the crop. Now we got to lower our standards.
To breathing.
Yeah. So now you lowered your standards because nobody wants to be a cop because of how you treated them. And you didn't have that understanding and human factor in a job that you have no fucking clue about.
Right.
And one of the fixes that I have for that is go do a write-out. Like, I will never talk shit about a McDonald's employee. Why? I've never done the job.
Yeah.
Do I think it takes a college degree to do the job? Not necessarily, but I don't think it takes a college degree to be a cop.
Yeah.
I think some of the best cops I know, all they have is a high school diploma. Some of the worst cops I know are college educated. I'm college educated. Yeah. Do I think my degree made me a better cop? No. No. What did it do? It gave me perspective and it gave me opportunity.
And a little bit of time and a little bit of age, a little bit, before you got in there. It's like, and again, we play the armchair quarterback in this country off of social media blips of footage, little cell phone footage, like Brooks out of Atlanta, the one, you look at when the cop, when he was grabbing the taser, he ran. The cop was in Brooks, right?
I don't remember that one.
At the Wendy's, saying that burning.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I definitely remember that one.
The first thing anybody saw was a 30-second interchange where he stole the taser and they shot and killed him, not realizing that there was 45 minutes of good policing that
trying to solve
that problem. And when we look at things, we take this perspective and these short footage. It's so hard, and it's so hard to tell another human being like take a step back. Now, me calling out police officer, there was a situation in Arizona about 6 months ago. I don't know if you saw the guy in the motorized wheelchair.
Yes. That didn't look good.
That does not look good.
No.
There's I've watched it enough to be like, all right, what kind of and people are like, you're a bootlegger, because I'm trying to think of what could the cop have done. What could have led to that point?
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, I looked at it from every angle. I'm like,
I've learned my lesson as far as I will tell people, like, you look bad. Like, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
You look bad. And that's about as deep as I'll go, because if I wasn't there, I can't give an honest assessment or a realistic assessment, because there are things that the human eye sees that the camera doesn't.
Right.
And I've learned that. However, in that particular situation that you're talking about, I find it really hard.
Guy was going like a mile and a half.
I find it really hard.
That's one of the rare occasions where I'll look at the footage and I'm like, I can't qualify it. Yeah. And then there was a Dallas event, a situation when I just moved out here. Maybe a couple of years after, I was at one of the nightclubs downtown. I saw two cops. Sorry,
one donut.
Two.
Sorry, I had to.
No, there was two girls there though, but no cup of shit. That is how you came up with the name, right?
Nope. Okay.
I want to get back to that in a sec.
I'll tell you.
So this is quick. So these two
I'll write it down.
These two guys came out, two well-dressed black guys. I know that sounds like what do they call it, microaggression, but well-dressed. They weren't like sagging. Yeah, it was very microaggression-y. But they're walking out. They're normal dudes, and the cop said something to one of the guys. Like it was off, and I was in line, and the guy turned around and he did say something. He clapped back a little bit, I think it was.
But that's the nature of the game. You initiate it.
And then the cop came up and grabbed him by his shoulder, flipped him over, and I'm standing right there. And
so this is a POP thing.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
No.
Pissed off police.
Yes, pissed off police. He was just being a dick, and I gave my contact information to the kids, and the guy got arrested. Because at that point, he fought back once he was getting flipped for nothing. Yeah. Like not hard fought back, just didn't comply with the hand behind the back. And I made a statement on behalf of the two black dudes against that police officer, because that was egregious. And I was there from point A to point Z. I saw the whole thing. So, sometimes you got to call them out. What the hell is two cops, one donut now?
Okay, so Joe Rogan is why I started watching podcasts. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, grown up in jiu-jitsu, love it. When I was stationed in Montana, I started doing jiu-jitsu at a 10th planet called a hot box. Okay. I did not smoke weed, but that's what they called places that weren't fully affiliated.
I thought that's what they called girls that were easy in college.
Maybe.
Hot box? No?
Maybe, okay. But I was not in an affiliated place yet. They were working on affiliation. Okay. So they called them hot boxes because it's Eddie Bravo, 10th Planet. It's all about weed and rolling and music. So it's the only jiu-jitsu place I had available. So that's how I learned jiu-jitsu. Well, Joe Rogan started under him and Eddie Bravo, are BFFs, and they both rolled together at a Machado school. If you're into jiu-jitsu at all,
I've heard of it.
And
the Machado school.
Yeah, and so they rolled under the Machado, and then Eddie started his own school once he became a black belt, and kind of changed the game.
Yeah,
started the no-gi revolution basically, and that's how I knew about Joe Rogan. Okay. And so I followed Joe. It had nothing to do with news radio, had nothing to do with Fear Factor, any of that. I just liked Joe because the motherfucker was a roller and he was good. And then the podcast thing came out. And so I was like, all right, Joe's doing podcasts. I'll listen to that. And he's talking to who? Mostly rollers. Yeah. And I don't mean joints. Yeah. Rollers is in jiu-jitsu. And so I was like, this is awesome. Like, he's talking to people that do the game, right. Do jiu-jitsu. So followed him in that. And then it grew. Joe's podcast started getting real big. Well, he had comedians and all these different people on. Yeah. And two comedians he had on quite regularly, Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. Mm-hmm. Well, Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura started a podcast, Two Bears, One Cave. And that's where the name came from, because that's one of my other favorite podcasts. So they branched off of Joe. They went more the comedian route, which is fine. They do about an hour and a half. They don't get crazy, but fucking hilarious. Yeah. And I love it. When I'm driving to work back and forth, like, I get stupid thrills just listening to their dumbasses. And I was like, you know what? When I finally came up with the idea for the podcast, it's like 2 bears, 1 cave. All right, 2 cops, 1 donut. And I'm going to do it after the Simpsons model. You know, I love the Simpsons cops, stuff growing up. So I was like, that'll be good. Well, I get it going, and it wasn't even a week into it, you know, when other cops started finding out that I worked with. They're like, oh, it's funny, dude, like 2 girls, 1 cup. And I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't the intention, but yeah, that's funny too. Like, I just, it'd been so long, dude. I hadn't heard of 2 girls. Yeah, I remember when 2 girls, 1 cup came out. You know, I was prime active duty military. That shit. Was,
wildfire.
Yeah. And so we saw that a ton of times. And I was like, I sat back and I was like, I ain't changing it. I don't care. It's funny. Either way, it draws attention.
You want to get your viewership hours up to the 4,000. I have a suggestion if you want to have a funny video.
Okay, 2 cops eating shoot up donuts out of each other's mouths.
I would have like 2 I would have 2 cops and like make it a whole funny thing. Don't cheap it. Don't like cheapen the humor behind it, but like have one of the dudes that you work with like crap a chocolate eclair like as kind of a joke, and then you guys eat the chocolate eclair as 2 cops.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, that would probably go viral.
That would probably be pretty good.
Yeah, dude, pretty good. Hey, I'm just saying, like, right. I would share it.
Let's do this. I will get my buddy that I know would be down. My good buddy. I know he'd be down. So I will get him. I'll give you my cameras or whatever. You facilitate.
I'll shoot it.
You shoot it.
Yeah.
And I'll make it happen.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, this would be pretty funny. Cause like, it's also it's almost talking shit about cops in a way. Like a bunch of people are like, oh, it'll draw the haters as well, which haters are views. Let's be very clear. And they'll be like, oh, look at these 2 dumb cops. And then the other ones, like cops that get, will be like, this shit's fucking funny.
I think I'm already seeing a vision in my head. Like it's him and I hanging out, but we're in, generic cop outfits. And I'm like, bro, our wives are gone. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, looking pretty good.
Make it a whole scene.
Yeah,
do it right.
Yeah. And then I'm like, you thinking what I'm thinking? He's like, oh yeah. And then you zoom in and it's him like sweating. I'm like, yeah, get it, boy. And then no nasty, but the next thing you see is an eclair just drop into a box.
Like almost do like the stop motion animation where it's like, and then it's just in the cup. Yeah.
We're doing it. That's happening.
I think it's brilliant.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a whole little thing right afterwards, bridging the gap between the community and the place.
You're going to have like 3.7 million views and and I'm going to be like, that was I thought of it.
Yeah, that's your kid. Absolutely. Hashtag, and then I'm going to put your BFD right there.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah. No shame in my game.
God, that's funny.
That is funny. Mm-hmm. I'm down.
So like, it's cheap humor. It is. And like you asked kind of like, what's the point of all that? I
already did one. I interviewed Santa.
Okay.
Like interrogated.
Okay.
Like I would a real person.
Yeah.
Like I had a buddy come on and I'm like, all right, dude, like here's the deal. And I broke it down. Like if you've ever watched an interrogation, like I'm a detective, like in the real world. Like,
did it legit.
Like I did it just like I would with a person. And other police officers for sure, or any true crime fans that watch a lot of 48 Hours or whatever, they're gonna know. They're like, oh my God, he like really tried to fucking break down Santa Claus,
right?
And I did that, and I started. I'm like, dude, like, what's the deal? You've got all these people that work for you, and you're not paying them. I'm like we abolished slavery, like we're violating, and we got international rules going on. I'm like, are you, we've got the livestock rule. You've got all these reindeer. Are you licensed to mate reindeer? And I just kept going down. And so it was only a 12-minute video, but it was based on that type of humor, trying to do that. But he reversed it on me being Santa Claus. And he's like, is it true that, he's
You're
like,
on the naughty list?
You asked for this, but you peed in your sister's shampoo. Like, I was like, and he's like, and then you were out with your boys, when you were like 15 years old, and they had this weird looking cigarette and they were passing it around. And I'm like, all right, interview's over.
Interrogation's over. You're free to go. You're free to go, sir. You jolly old fat guy. Get out of here.
We'll be in touch.
Oh, here's the other one. I was gonna say that was the other thing you could do is just like throughout the episode, I feel like I'd like to pick at a donut.
Oh yeah,
it's like 2 guests, 1 donut.
Yeah, you're not wrong. A lot of people will be like, "Hey, do you have donuts?" And I'm like, I should, but yeah, I don't. These were actually from a person that sent me a "Dear Officer, we need you" thing.
Okay.
And that's their thing. They send these out to officers. Small world. So anybody that sees this particular duck that has this F on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm working a part-time gig, and I see a lady wearing a shirt that says Flint Strong.
Oh.
Here in Texas. And I'm like, me being the extrovert I am, I'm like, hey girl. And she's looking. I was like, are you from Flint? And she's like, yeah. I was like, Flintstone Thug right here. Like, she's like, what? And she comes over and I was like, can I get a picture with you? And she's like, yeah, can I get a picture? You know, so we do that. And she's wearing, this is a Flint jewelry piece. And she's like, I gave her a patch from where I work. And I was like, here's a patch. I was like, you can't get these online. You can't get them anywhere else. You can only get them from us. And she's like, I got something for you. And she literally takes off a piece of her jewelry.
Gives you the F.
That's from, yeah, it gives me the F. And so I keep that on there.
I like it.
Pretty big deal to me. But yeah, you know, it's those little small connections. I can't fix the world, but I can fix it one person at a time. And that's kind of the way I look at it. So when I have something like that, dude, I fucking love it.
That's awesome.
I absolutely love it. And making connections like this, like I get to talk to people every day in my job. And that I found that is my addiction. I just like, let me give you a fun cop thing. Okay. You're going to like this. You get these frequent flyers and you're like, you know, cops, you get this call and you're like, fuck, that's Harvey again. You know, it's one of those things. And for me, I love it because it's my opportunity to go talk to Harvey and just ask him random questions, random shit. And I get entertained by it. Like, that's the fun of the job. I'm not making fun of him.
Right.
I'm living in the moment and just trying to figure out how this guy's world works.
Yeah.
But all their officers are like, I need to clear this fucking call and get the hell out of here. I don't want to be here. And they hate when I'm on that call with them that they just want to get out of there. And I'm like, so Harvey, like, what happened, man? Why are we here today? Like, and they just want to know, like, Harvey, are you willing to leave? Yeah, I'm willing to leave. All right, Harvey, go. And as soon as he walks out, they're like, all right, call's cleared. They're gone. Not me. I'm like, hold on, Harvey, before you go, man, I got some questions. Like, you don't have to stay, but do you mind if I ask you some questions? And Harvey's like, this dude wants to talk to me. And I'm like, yeah, I do want to talk to you. And I will engage the crazy in a way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in all reality, I remember as my dad was getting older before he passed away, like, he wasn't crazy at all, but he was a disabled guy that lived by himself. And sometimes in retrospect, and if anybody's out there,
he wanted human contact.
He wanted to talk.
Yeah.
And it drove me nuts. Yeah. And in retrospect, I'm like, man, when somebody passes away, you're like, I want one more of those stupid, asinine conversations. And when somebody is alone so much, even if Harvey is talking about the fact that the earth is flat and there's like weird planes spinning around, you've altered their life for that day, and it's a positive thing.
Yes.
Because you finally had somebody to talk to.
Yeah. And then you never know. Down the line, I could be getting my ass handed to me by some dude, and Harvey's walking by and he's like, oh shit, that's Levine. He talks to me. Yeah. Not on my watch. And then he comes over and helps you. Yeah. I've had that instance. Yeah. Where some guy comes and helps me because I was the one that gave him a fair shake. Yeah. Or I'm the one that decided to have that conversation. But that's not why I have the conversation. I have the conversation because
it's also entertaining.
It's fucking fun. Yeah, it is. It's a front row ticket to the greatest show on earth.
Absolutely. What else are you going to do? Like going back to your phone and texting? I get it. Like, there's certain stuff. And you know, if something happens and shit goes down, you got to go take care of it. You go take care of it. Yeah. But in the meantime, like,
if that's all I got going on, that's my life for right then. Yeah. Yeah. Why not sit there and have a conversation with him?
And that's kind of how I feel about the podcast. And like you said, like, we have the ability to have these connections with people. And some of the people that I had on my show, like, they started building their following, like the Instagram lives and different stuff. When it's just a bunch of people kind of bullshitting, getting mad about stuff. I don't get it when you're talking to 13 people. Yeah. I do get, if you're putting, and like you said, we struggle to get viewership, but if it's 1,000 people watching or 15 people watching, if you're putting out a product that actually has impact and not just standing around your living room, I think there's a greater purpose. And if God, and this is my religious side, if God wants something to go bigger, he'll, in its time it will, or you may not even see what's happening. Like you said with Harvey, like there might be one person that you have no idea. And that's what kind of kept driving me is when Cash went to jail. And when Cash got put away, we had to put together letters for, and that was the other weird thing
Character
about
letters.
character letters, which again, I think his lawyer was garbage. His lawyer's like, the judge doesn't want to see these. We had over 100 pages of character because of how during the pandemic, Cash and I was included in a lot of them, which made me cry a bunch because I'm reading through these, talking about the impact we had. And it's like, I don't know how to sell it to my girlfriend for her to explain exactly how this makes me feel. But when Cash got all these letters and they're talking to us, there were so many people that you don't think about that felt alone because of their belief system or whatever it might be, or maybe they had a kid that was a cop or a father that was a cop that had respect towards police officers, or they just had conservative beliefs and they felt alone. And then you put them in a room by themselves during the pandemic and all these different things, and they're starting to get depressed. And we had multiple people actually be like, I don't think I would have made it through the year. I was already planning on committing suicide. I don't think I would have made it for XYZ. And there is a greater purpose behind it. So hopefully we grow and we're able to affect tens of thousands of people and get to the Prather levels and get to the whatever, the Rogan levels or whatever it might be. That is the goal. But on my fight to get there with blunt force discussion or whatever, the continue, and again, building my personal brand just like you. And if we're able to, if I'm able to speak on news and people are listening to me on the radio and I have a voice that I believe as though I have a responsibility to use, because I do think I'm a decent speaker. And I'm able to articulate my beliefs. And I do believe I have a middle ground philosophy on a lot of things, even though I sound as though I'm a little bit further right. I think there is a voice for unity in it, and being able to meet Cash and then seeing all these letters of people that truly said, you changed my life. You kept me alive through 2020. It creates a sense of responsibility and not ego, because it's a very fine line between responsibility and ego. And that's where I think some of the people that now have become micro influencers will get on their platform and just like, people care about what I say, and I'm just going to say this and that and that. We have a responsibility, whether we're talking to 15 or whether we're talking to 1,000. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the biggest humbling factor for me is cops are cynical. Mm-hmm. Like, we're cynical assholes. That's just how we are because of the world we see. Me, I'm kind of an outlier. I'm an optimistic person through and through. It annoys some cops.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. It's just me. That's just how I am. I'm an eternal optimist, and I guess that's how I am. But the thing that has drove me on is, yes, I have gotten responses back like, hey man, like that episode, you had Bruce Anderson on, and when he broke down, like, I had a guy that had been involved in the shooting, thought he was past it. We're talking, he's a sergeant. When he got in the shooting, he was an officer. So that's a long span.
Gap.
That's a big gap. And he, as he's telling us, he's reliving it, and you can see it, and he fucking breaks down. You can see the entire process happen. And it's eye-opening. Like, it's something I had never been a part of in a way. Like, I've seen guys, military and police, I've seen some PTSD stuff, but I watched the whole thing unfold on the podcast. And I'd asked him several times, hey dude, like, if you don't want me to air this, like, we don't have to air this. Like, let me know. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I think you're going to help people. And that's kind of the point I'm getting to, is the biggest motivating factor for me isn't, not that I don't appreciate it. I really appreciate the following that I got. It's when I get cops that I work with, or cops that are close around my bubble, that are like, dude, you need to keep doing this. Like, this is awesome. And I never expected that. And that's the type of feedback I've gotten so far. Now, what they say when I'm not around, who knows?
Who knows?
But when they talk to me, or they reach out to me without me ever talking to them and saying, like, dude, like, that was a good job, I really appreciate it.
They don't have to do that.
They don't have to do that. And getting it from a peer is fucking just so beyond anything else. I can't explain it. Like I said, knowing how cynical cops are, and getting that feedback from what I've done so far, like, I can't believe it. They could have easily been like, bro, like, podcast, really? Like, you need to learn.
Who do you think you are?
Well, not necessarily that, but they would, if you suck at something, they're going to let you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you go through a scenario at work or training or whatever, and they be like, bro, you haven't fought a day in your life. Like, they will let you know. They are brutal. And I have zero training when it comes to talking in public or this. I'm relying on how I am with people. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I consider myself.
You're good at it. Yeah,
and so doing this and then getting that feedback from them, like I said, it's a big driving factor.
Do you find it mind-boggling that, like, when I started kind of try to work on how this whole thing would work, I started looking at podcasts that had like 10,000 downloads a week or more.
Holy shit.
And they suck. Some of them really suck. Like, no offense to them, but like, it's like watching paint dry, but they had like a weird following of people that follow these horrific shows.
I always wonder how legitimate that following is. When you listen to something, you're like, okay, I'm not trying to be too harsh, but how do they have that type of following? This is garbage.
It's so bad.
They may be paying for it.
I've learned that. I think some of it's just over years.
How many times have people reached out to you from freaking China or whatever? Like, hey, I will get you 10,000
followers.
And I'm like,
but like, I'm talking actual podcast downloads. Like, so these are people that are downloading, not like on YouTube, not whatever, like the podcast world. And I think that some people, and maybe it is because now that they're on YouTube or whatever, we can see them visually, and it's like, this is just weird. But maybe just voices. Some people resonate with, like, I think that's why the true crime stuff did so well. They pick people with the right voices that knew how to, and like engage, like, and then when we come back, it's like, I think there was like an accidental science behind it, but always mind boggling. But this, I mean, you do a really good job just having, it's a fine art to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Conversation's a lost art.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's why people find it interesting. It's 3 hours. So people are like, sometimes they don't. And that's why the algorithm, like we talked about, is questionable, but
absolutely,
it's a good product. So
and I get it. But that is the thing, is I want to have a fucking fully articulate, full conversation.
Yeah.
I don't like sound bites. And Joe Rogan beat that into my head. I couldn't figure out why I liked Rogan so much. And then he started pointing it out. Like, you're having unfettered conversations.
Yeah.
And that's fun to me. Like, I don't like listening to radio. It's interrupted by commercials. And like my sponsorship stuff that I have, I only have 2 sponsors, but they play at the beginning. That's it.
And then it's done.
Then it's done. They're not interrupting my show.
Not a bad idea.
I don't like interrupted conversation. It's fucked up. And so,
that's not a bad idea for me to do.
Yeah, I don't.
Just get it out of the way and be done with it.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
I like that.
I gotta call them pre-rolls.
See, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to lose people in the first 3 minutes, but as long as I'm specific and say, here it is.
Yeah. Most of the people I know that watch or listen, whatever it is, they're like, I know who your sponsors are. They just fast forward it. They know,
right.
They know about where the show's going to start. And so if that's what you want to do, I'm giving you the option. I think that's the power of podcasting, is people have that option.
So,
because nothing pisses me off more than watching a YouTube video and a fucking advertisement starts. I get so mad.
Have you ever seen the clip on Family Guy where he makes where Peter makes jokes about podcasts?
No.
You gotta find it. Somebody sent it to me because I did an episode on Roe versus Wade, and my buddy thought, because we're having like serious part, but I'm like, we're at the 20-minute mark, I need to end. He goes, so there's a clip, we'll look it up after, and it's Peter is hosting a radio show with the dog, whatever the dog's name is, and Lois Ryan, and Lois is in jail, and she's calling on her like 3-minute call, and he's like calling in from the jail, and like she'll say something that was like, speaking of needing new underwear, and like he made everything's an advertisement. It's absolutely brilliant. It's hilarious. But I feel, and it's like there's times where I'm in the middle of my 20 minutes, like where I'm like, it's just stupid. And it's not even like it's fully getting paid for, but it's like I just have to do it to at least make it routine. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just put it in the beginning, maybe do it again at the end, and then wrap it up.
Yeah, I tell my sponsors, I'm like, hey, like, this is what you're paying for. Just so you know, I'm very specific. Like, I don't want my conversations interrupted. I've listened to podcasts where that happens, and it frustrates me and turns me off. It makes me hate your advertisement, even though it may not even be your fault.
Right.
It's like, so. And the 2 sponsors that I've had have been like, we trust you. And so I'm very, very picky on like I told you, I'm very picky on my sponsorships anyway.
Yeah.
But it's worked out. And no, I've had no complaints about it. But that I've gotten more appreciation from fans that listen. They're like, it's so nice to just be able to be like, we already know who your sponsors are so far. Like, if something changes, we're going to notice, because when they fast forward, it's probably going to be on a sponsor, and maybe they go back, maybe they don't. But
see, it's like, I get, like, I think the gold standard is and I really do think the Blaze is a fantastic network, but I think the gold standard is, you look at the difference between Chad and Prather's show and Crowder's, 2 of my favorite shows to watch. And Crowder does it in the beginning, and then he makes jokes and alludes to some of the brands throughout the episode.
Okay.
But there's never really a commercial. Prather does a commercial, but it's a set 48-minute show, and it almost runs like a TV show. So it works in that sense. Yeah. And I think I've modeled my system more of the Chad Prather way, but I think it could work it could work in more of the like somebody makes a mention because one of my sponsors is health products or whatever it is. I could just be like, it'd be good for that.
Yeah. And so what I will do is, if you want another idea, is like I told my people, like, I will always have on the video portion, your logo will be visible.
I like
so it doesn't matter what point of the show it is. I don't need to mention you because they're going to see your watermark. Your watermark is there.
Yeah.
So I have your watermark available. If they want to look into it, that's great. But that is the option people want. They don't want to be force fed.
Yeah.
If they want to see what it's about, they're going to check into it. If they want to watch the beginning of the show and see my advertisements, that's great.
Let them do it.
Because everybody knows the deal with podcasts. We depend on the sponsorships.
Yeah.
If we're not a nonprofit, which I'm not yet, I've played with the idea. I don't know how to do it yet. So
I pretty much just pull money from my wallet to do it. But
that's how I've done it.
And it is lean.
Yeah.
I just realized who we look like, by the way.
Who we look like?
I don't know if everybody said you ever look like this. So I've gotten told that I look a little bit like, and I was a little bit younger at the time, but Dawson's Creek. I look like Dawson.
Okay.
Got like the big,
I see it.
It's more like the big forehead. I've actually met him before. We took pictures next to each other.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, we see it. You look like Pacey. You look like Joshua Jackson.
Dude, I've gotten that a lot. The guy from Skulls?
Yeah, he was in Skulls too, but he was from Dawson's Creek.
I've gotten that
I just started looking, I was like, you look like Joshua Jackson.
Yeah.
And then I'm Dawson's Creek right here.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Fuck, let's do a branch off on your fucking podcast. We'll start our own shit.
We'll talk about like late 90s, early 2000s pop TV shows.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'll be 40 next week.
Okay, I'm 39. I'll be 40 in February. So
there we go.
We're in the same fucking genre.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
That's
I
amazing.
have a huge crush on Katie Holmes.
Oh, wait, who?
Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes. I was married to Justin Timberlake.
Beal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jessica Biel. Yeah. That
Smoke Show.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was my favorite. Yeah.
Who did I liked Britney and I liked Katie Holmes and
I was an Aguilera fan.
I was gonna say she was up there too.
Yeah. That was the who's better, Britney or Christina?
And now Aguilera looks like she ate Britney's psychotic medicine, and then Britney just went psychotic. So
yeah, that's pretty true.
Can you imagine this was like we would have given anything to be with these people, and then now at the age of 40, I'm looking and I'm like, I'm really glad I'm not with Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't mind, being a houseboy, whatever.
Still,
yeah,
she looks crazy. Like there's just a whole like
I don't know. I don't pay attention to her enough, but my wife loves her.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, her social media got so fun to watch. Like, unfortunately, fun to watch because it got so crazy.
Yeah, my top 5 growing up was Beyonce, Jessica Biel, Jessica Alba.
Oh, Alba! I was a big fan of Alba.
Yeah, I love Jessica Alba.
She was in my top 5.
Jessica Simpson. It was a lot of Jessicas.
I liked Ashley Simpson more than Jessica Simpson.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I dated a lot of girls with big noses.
You screwed up there. Yeah. And then
Christina Aguilera?
No. She was Monica. I loved Monica. She did the Boy Is Mine with Brandy. If you remember.
Oh,
Brandy.
yeah.
Yeah. So they had that whole thing. I loved Monica.
Monica?
Yeah.
I remember her.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see I'm trying to picture her face right now.
Yeah. All musicians.
Okay.
Other than Jessica Biel.
So I went on a date with a girl that looked just like Jessica Biel here. And then it was like she was like 6'2". She was a big girl. And then it was like, oh, I'm Jessica Biel. Not Jessica Biel, which was fine. I've got no problem. But it was that was interesting. But her face literally doppelganger.
My dating game really isn't strong. I've been with the same girl since 7th grade.
Holy nuggets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to talk about my dating past. My girlfriend will kill me.
Oh, yeah. I won't say nothing. Yeah. She won't watch this podcast anyway. It's too long.
No, she would already. She made it about an hour and let's be honest, about 17 minutes. She made it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're at we're at a good stopping point.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know I'm having a real hard time knowing how I'm going to label and title this fucking podcast because most of my stuff is, and we did talk about police stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's not that we didn't, but man, we hit all over the world.
It was two bros having a conversation.
It was just a convo. I may just label it that.
Just
Yeah.
two dudes in a convo.
I'm going to say outside the box conversation, and that may be it.
Two dudes in a box. Two dudes.
Yeah. I may say hashtag awake, not woke.
There you go. There it is.
I might just leave it at that.
I think that'd be a good one. By the way, since I keep getting out text messages, how did you get Prather to be off his phone for 3 hours?
Oh, it's easy when you just have the looks and the physique that I have, and I know exactly what it's attracted to. So I sat here without, I wore a shirt, but I cut the nipples out.
That is hot.
And that I kept him in his seat. So anytime he started to talk, I just moved my arms back. Said,
and he was back engaged.
And he was back in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to have one more with Chad. I'm going to do Chad and CJ, him and his girlfriend.
Okay.
And then we're going to have a lot of whiskey. I'm going to have I did one episode with my girlfriend as well. And I'm going to do a couples therapy episode with them.
Okay. Well, just so you know, he's a tequila guy right now.
Oh, I know. Big time.
Big into tequila.
Yeah.
1942 is my favorite. That's my unit. Shout out to 802nd.
Nice.
My unit, we are a 1942 group. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you being on. I think
this is fun.
This was a good one. And yeah, if you so inclined to have me come out and be on yours, we'll do that. If not, no hard feelings.
No, I'm going to have you on 100%. And I want you to meet, maybe we'll schedule, I'll have you meet Barb because she's going to be in town. We're looking at a venue for next year's show.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll talk about it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Appreciate you being on. Thank you very much.